Chapter 42. The food delivery boy had just left, when the door was pushed open again. This time it was a middle-aged beautiful woman who came in. In addition to Ning Cheng, the other 5 youths who saw this middle-aged beautiful woman immediately stood up and bowed in salute, and at the same time respectfully called out, "Elder Lan." This middle-aged beautiful woman just nodded slightly, and looked at Ning Cheng and asked, "Are you called Ning Cheng?" Ning Cheng could feel the sternness in the eyes of this middle-aged beautiful woman, and did not understand why this elder was looking for him. "You come with me." This middle-aged beautiful woman did not wait for Ning Cheng to answer, and just turned around and walked out. Ning Cheng was somewhat confused as he followed this middle-aged beautiful woman out of the room, and after a few turns on the boat, they entered a luxurious room that was much bigger than the room that the 6 of them had stayed in before. This middle-aged beautiful woman sat down on the main seat in the room, but did not ask Ning Cheng to sit down, and just asked in a light voice, "According to an E, you and an E do not seem to have a relationship of cousin and cousin, but an Yi's master asked you to take care of an E before she passed away." Ning Cheng did not speak. He knew that with an Yi's simplicity, in front of these old cunning people, it was not unusual for her to ask these things. He just hoped that an E would not speak about his yellow light, and also not speak about the fact that he could absorb spirit stones. Once an E spoke about this, he could only wait for his death. Ning Cheng believed that an E should know what was good for her. This kind of thing that no one would beat around the bush, she should not take the initiative to speak about it. After this middle-aged beautiful woman finished, she did not wait for Ning Cheng to answer and said again, "Whether you are an Yi's cousin or not, I hope that you will not get close to an E in the future. This would be good for you and for an E. An Yi's future is limitless. You have a 3-line impure spiritual root, and your greatest achievement is only the Qi gathering realm. If you and an E are in contact, it will only affect an E." Ning Cheng said in a light voice, "I hope that an E will have a limitless future more than you. But before that, I want to confirm whether an E is really being taken care of by the Clear Heart Academy." Ning Cheng was sure that an E would be taken care of by the Clear Heart Academy, but the words of this middle-aged beautiful woman made him feel uncomfortable. The beautiful middle-aged woman smiled and said, "Sure." Saying that, she took out a wooden card and handed it to Ning Cheng and said, "Tomorrow evening there will be a welcome party for an E and Yu Hongfeng. You can use this wooden card to enter. When you see an E in the corner, you will understand what you should do." Ning Cheng took the wooden plaque, and silently turned around and walked out of the room. He was too lazy to even greet this middle-aged beautiful woman. A very pretty girl rushed in at this time, brushing past Ning Cheng who was coming out of the room. She also deliberately glanced at Ning Cheng, and at the same time gave out in sound, "Master, who is this person? So rude." The pretty girl stared at Ning Cheng's departing back, as she asked the beautiful middle-aged woman. The middle-aged beautiful woman frowned and said, "Although this person's aptitude is poor, but he is stubborn and extremely proud. Just now he did not answer me directly, and even when he left he did not even say anything. It seems that I cannot let him go to the Clear Heart Academy." After Ning Cheng returned to his room, a few of his companions in the room looked at him strangely, but no one came over to ask him, and no one came over to strike up a conversation. Ning Cheng was also not in a good mood. He closed his eyes and continued to deduce the array formations. A day passed by in a blink of an eye. The next evening when Ning Cheng arrived at the party, the hall where the party was being held was already filled with people. It was very lively and noisy. Ning Cheng came from Earth, although he had not participated in any banquets or parties, but he had seen countless of them on TV. This was the first time that Ning Cheng had participated in this kind of party. There were no modern facilities here, but Ning Cheng was sure that the luxury of this party on the ship was definitely not worse than any party on Earth. Rows of array lights lit up the entire party, making it look like a fairyland. There were some girls wearing colorful butterfly-like dresses holding a variety of food and wine interspersed in every corner. The soft music was something that Ning Cheng had never heard before. It gave people a very comfortable feeling of enjoyment. Among the cultivators who participated in this party, none of them were lower than Qi gathering 5th level, and there were many of them that Ning Cheng could not see through their cultivation. Le Boishong and the others also came in with a smile on their faces. and greeted some of the people that Ning Cheng could not see through their cultivation. In addition to Le Boihong and the others, Ning Cheng almost did not recognize the rest of them. At this time, a burst of sweet music sounded, and under the dim lights, Ning Cheng saw an Yi. At this time, an Yi was like a princess. The robe that she was wearing had long since disappeared, and was replaced by a set of light yellow robes. Although her head was still wrapped in a white scarf, but it showed a kind of fairy-like aura. It made her already extremely beautiful face look even more refined like a fairy. An Yi walked into the hall with a smile on her face. Her eyes were filled with happiness. Obviously, an Yi who had never been exposed to this kind of scene was very adaptable. At least in her eyes, there was no hesitation or uneasiness. Lu Shui and Yong Guyin were both accompanying an Yi, showing that an Yi's status was higher than them. With an Yi's appearance, a burst of warm applause sounded. Following behind an Yi was a youth with a jade-like face. His eyes had a trace of pride, and he was walking with full confidence. Ning Cheng did not need to ask. He could guess that this person should be the pure gold spiritual root Yu Hongfeng. An Yi stood on the stage to accept the welcome of the crowd, while her eyes were also looking around. Lu Shui whispered in an Yi's ear. Junior apprentice sister An Yi, these people are the elite disciples and teachers of the Clear Heart Academy. Ning Cheng will not come here. An Yi nodded, and retracted her gaze. Her eyes had a trace of sadness. In fact, you should not have boarded the airship. An indifferent voice sounded in Ning Cheng's ear. Ning Cheng suddenly turned around, and saw a familiar girl. This girl was the one he saw yesterday when he went to the middle-aged beautiful woman's room. At that time, he was just coming out of the middle-aged beautiful woman's room, when this girl rushed in. Although it was just a passing, Ning Cheng still remembered it very clearly. At least I know that my cousin is doing well, and feel relieved. Ning Cheng said with a light smile, and turned around to leave. If he had not boarded the airship, he would have already died in the Mingot city. The girl suddenly said, I think that when the airship stops at the next stop, it would be best for you to get off. Believe me, that's right. After the girl said such an inexplicable sentence, she turned around and walked towards the bustling crowd in the middle of the party hall. Ning Cheng frowned. He did not have a good feeling about this. He was just about to pick up the glass of wine on the table next to him to take a sip, when he heard a familiar voice again. You have already seen your cousin An Yi. She is doing very well, so you do not have to worry about her. Thank you, senior. I really do not have to worry about her. This junior will take his leave. Ning Cheng gave up on picking up the glass of wine and said. He turned around, and found that the person who was talking to him was the middle-aged beautiful woman who had given him the wooden plaque yesterday. But at this moment she did not have even half a bit of expression on her face. The middle-aged beautiful woman said indifferently, Letting you come here, one is because you are An Yi's cousin, and the other is because of your good intentions. I am looking for you for something else. You can come with me. The bad feeling in Ning Cheng's heart was getting more and more intense, but he did not have any leeway to resist, and could only follow the middle-aged beautiful woman out of the party hall. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, a burst of breeze blew past. Ning Cheng discovered that he was standing on the deck of the airship. Below the airship was an endless expanse of white clouds and blue sky. The breeze had passed through the airship, shielding a ray formation, and blew in. It can be imagined, if there was no such shielding array formation, as long as he stood in this place, he would immediately be thrown off by the high-speed airship. Looking at the endless white clouds and blue sky under his feet, Ning Cheng felt a little dizzy. At this time he completely understood why this middle-aged beautiful woman had called him here. Do you want me to jump from here? Ning Cheng's tone became cold. For a Qi-gathering 4th-level cultivator to jump from such a high altitude, other than death, there was obviously no other way. The middle-aged beautiful woman nodded and said, That's right, you have to jump from here. You have no choice. Why? I have already agreed not to look for An Yi. Ning Cheng clenched his fists. He knew that this was a place where people's lives were treated as grass, but this was just too outrageous. Just because he knew An Yi, and An Yi had a pure spiritual root, they wanted to kill him. How could there be such a reason in this world? It seemed that as long as he was alive, An Yi would not be able to cultivate in peace. For the sake of An Yi's future, I have the responsibility to help Ani cut off her worldly karma. You do not have to think about resisting. I can tell you. I am the Clear Heart Academy's true condensation 8th level Elder Lan Inu. You are just a chi gathering 4th level cultivator. I do not need to move. I can let you jump from here. You are Ani's cousin. I do not want to force you. You can jump by yourself. The middle-aged beautiful woman's tone was expressionless. Ningqing laughed. You are a whore, but you still want to set up a chastity. You do not want to force me, I ba. You are courting death. Lan Inu, who was originally very calm, after listening to Ningqing's words, immediately overflowed with a murderous aura. Ningqing knew that he did not have the ability to resist. He walked to the edge of the ship and stared at Lan Inu and said, Lan Inu, I do not need you to do anything. I will choose myself. One day, you will regret what you did today, you whore. Lan Inu heard Ningqing call her a whore again, and immediately trembled with anger. She did not wait for Ningqing to start. Ningqing had already taken the initiative to jump from the edge of the ship. He knew that in front of Lan Inu, other than jumping, there was no other way. The airship's speed was very fast. When Ningqing jumped, the airship was already far away. Lan Inu was still unable to calm the anger in her heart. She did not think that a trivial chi-gathering 4th level little thing would dare to humiliate her like this. If she could fly, she would definitely fly out of the cabin, and then catch Ningqing and tear him inch by inch. Chapter 43. The reason why Ningqing dared to jump down was because he could release his spiritual sense. But when he really fell from the airship, the strong inertia of the fall made his heart sink. He barely cast the Imperial Wind technique, but under this kind of high altitude and inertia of the fall, he could only maintain the Imperial Wind technique for a short period of time. Not to mention that the time he could persist was very short. The powerful force falling from the sky made him use the Imperial Wind technique to consume a terrifying amount of chi. If he did not think of a way, he would definitely fall to his death in this place. Ningqing directly threw out the flying sword, and forcibly used his spiritual sense to control the flying sword. He was unable to make the flying sword wider, but he was barely able to make the flying sword fall under his feet. Whoosh whoosh. Amidst the air-piercing sound, the flying sword controlled by his spiritual force finally slowed down his speed. The huge consumption of spiritual sense and chi made Ningqing understand. He could at most persist for a few breaths, and after a few breaths he would not be able to safely land on the ground. Ningqing, without hesitation, took out a robe from his storage bag, and then tied the sleeves of the robe, and then grabbed a few corners of the robe in his hands, and then slightly relaxed his spiritual sense. After Dan Ningqing's spiritual sense relaxed, the flying sword under his feet was immediately unable to support his weight. His whole body fell even faster. At this time the robe swelled up, forming a simple parachute, offsetting more than half of Ningqing's weight. After the weight was reduced, Ningqing once again forcibly controlled the flying sword. His spiritual sense finally did not need to consume so much. After a dozen breaths, Ningqing brought along a strong gust of wind, as he rushed into a dense forest. Kacha. A few crisp sounds emerged, as several branches were directly broken by Ningqing. Bang! Ningqing landed on the ground, and immediately kicked out a bathtub-sized mud pit. Ningqing, who was completely exhausted, slowly breathed a sigh of relief. He finally escaped with his life. Apart from the consumption of his spiritual sense and chi, he only had a few simple scratches on his body. To him, this was already the best outcome. But he was surrounded by trees, and as he landed in the middle of the forest, he could only see a few rays of light coming from the top. 2 screams of yong yong came straight down from the sky. Ningqing only saw a black shadow rushing towards him like a lightning bolt. Ningqing was startled in his heart, and subconsciously dodged to the side. The black shadow had already flown past his shoulder like a lightning bolt. Ningqing felt a pain in his shoulder. Under the mottled light, his shoulder was unexpectedly scratched off. Ningqing did not expect that he would not be injured from falling from a height of 10,000 meters, but would be scratched by a bird. Another beast roar came. Ningqing's heart tightened. He knew that the place was definitely not a good. He quickly took out a spirit stone and held it in his hand. While seizing the time to restore his chi, He also grabbed the flying sword in his hand. When he had only recovered half of his true chi, the black shadow that had just scratched off a piece of skin on his shoulder flew down from the sky again. Ning Cheng was already prepared this time, as he raised the flying sword in his hand, causing a bloody mist to flash out. With a pata sound, a giant bird that looked somewhat like an owl fell to the ground. This was a Class 1 monstrous beast. Ning Cheng immediately recognized it. There were monarch beasts in this place. It was definitely not a good place. At this time in the forest, in addition to the roars of the beasts, there were also bursts of rustling sounds approaching. Ning Cheng jumped up and quickly left the place. He had vaguely guessed that this place should be inside the Dawn Forest. The airship certainly would not pass over the Dawn Forest. It should be flying along the edge of the Dawn Forest, but because of the inertia when he fell, he deviated into the Dawn Forest. At this time he had to leave the Dawn Forest as soon as possible, otherwise even an essence-building cultivator would not dare to go through this place alone. If he stayed here it would only bode ill rather than well. Ning Cheng's injuries were not heavy, plus he used a spirit stone to restore his chi. In less than half an hour, his chi was completely restored, even his spiritual sense was almost restored. But Ning Cheng knew that he was lost. He was surrounded by towering trees on all sides. Even if the trees were sparse, there were still shrubs. There was simply no way out. Running around in this forest for a few hours, in addition to a variety of wild beasts, there were only a variety of snakes, insects, rats and ants. Even Class 1 monarch beasts, Ning Cheng had encountered them a few times. But because he was extremely clever, he did not confront these monarch beasts head-on. Half a day passed by. There was no longer any sunlight in the forest, and it was replaced by the pale-colored moonlight. Ning Cheng knew that he could not continue like this. He had to find a safe place to rest, and then formulate a strategy. Kacha, a crisp sound came from under his feet. Ning Cheng's foot slipped. He felt that he had stepped on a round stone. Ning Cheng subconsciously jumped to the side, and found that under his feet was a white skull. Then Ning Cheng saw the bones of a hand and a foot next to the skull. Not waiting for Ning Cheng to bend down to examine the origin of this skull, a fishy smell came from behind. Ning Cheng did not think. He directly moved to the side, and simultaneously sprang forward more than 10 meters. A roar came from behind Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng could even feel the breath of the monarch beast. This was definitely a monarch beast that was much stronger than him. The flying sword in Ning Cheng's hands shot out a sword light, and his whole body floated away using the Imperial Wind technique. Falling from a height of 10,000 meters, the only improvement he had made was that his Imperial Wind technique had increased by a large margin. Ding-dang! A crisp sound rang out. Ning Cheng's flying sword light was directly blocked by a wind edge. It was not until this time that Ning Cheng calmed down his mind. He looked back and saw a monarch beast the size of a calf. This monarch beast's body was pitch black, but its eyes were emitting a red light, just like two huge lanterns. Ning Cheng did not have much contact with monarch beasts. He did not know what kind of monarch beast this was, but he was sure that this monarch beast's cultivation level was higher than his own. It was at least a Class 1 late-stage monarch beast. If he attacked it head-on, he would definitely not be its opponent. Ning Cheng carefully took a step back. He could see a sparkling light in the distance. It was obvious that there was a forest lake there. This red-eyed monarch beast seemed to know that Ning Cheng was not easy to deal with, and after confronting Ning Cheng for a few breaths, it suddenly pounced on him. At the same time, it spat out two wind edges from its mouth. These two wind edges formed a cross shape. It could be seen that this monarch beast was extremely experienced in dealing with its enemies. Ning Cheng wanted to retreat to the edge of the forest lake, but he also knew that if he did not repel this monarch beast, then even if he retreated to the edge of the forest lake, he would not be able to live in peace. Facing the two wind edges from the monarch beast, Ning Cheng once again chopped out with his flying sword. This time he also formed two sword lights. Ding-ding! The monarch beast's wind edges were like a real substance, as they collided with Ning Cheng's sword lights, giving out a crisp sound. The powerful shockwave caused Ning Cheng's chest to feel suffocated. The monarch beast was blocked by Ning Cheng's sword lights, which made it even more angry. Not waiting for it to continue to spit out the wind edges, Ning Cheng took the initiative to send out 4 flame edges. The 4 flame edges were very dense, and because of the huge size of the monarch beast, it was not easy for it to dodge. and was hit by the four wind edges. Puff puff puff. A series of muffled sounds could be heard, as the four flame edges left four traces on the body of the monarch beast. Seeing these four traces, Ning Cheng's heart sank. When the four flame edges hit the monarch beast's body, it only gave out some muffled sounds, and only left behind some traces, but did not cause even half a bit of damage to the monarch beast. The defensive power of this monarch beast was simply too strong. The red-eyed monarch beast once again roared, and just when it was about to continue to rush towards Ning Cheng, an even more exciting roar came from a distance. This red-eyed monarch beast pricked up its ears to listen to the roar coming from a distance, and unexpectedly gave up its fight with Ning Cheng, as it turned around and quickly ran back, and in a twinkling of an eye disappeared into the vast woods. Ning Cheng slowly sighed. This place really was not a good place. He had to find a place to improve his strength first, otherwise he would not be able to come out of this place, and perhaps he would be killed by the monarch beasts in this place. Ning Cheng put away his flying sword, as he sped up and rushed towards the sparkling forest lake that he had seen before. The forest lake was surrounded by an open area. As such, he could easily arrange a low-level defensive array formation. Even if a high-level monarch beast came, he would have enough time to escape. The forest lake was not far from Ning Cheng, and in just a few dozen breaths, Ning Cheng had already arrived at the edge of the forest lake. This lake was a few dozen feet in size. If such a lake was placed outside, it would appear to be huge. But in this towering forest, it did not appear to be huge at all. Ning Cheng walked around the lake for a few dozen feet, but did not find a good place to take shelter. Just when he wanted to see if there was a good place around the lake that he could hide in, the lake suddenly sprayed out a few feet high spray of water. Ning Cheng was startled, and quickly retreated a few meters away. But in this lake, other than the spray of water, there was nothing else unusual. Chapter 44. The water column sprayed out for at most 10 breaths of time, before it once again fell back into the lake. The whole lake also became the same as before. If not for the ripples on the surface of the lake, Ning Cheng might have thought that he was seeing things. At the same time, Ning Cheng could clearly feel that the water column that sprayed out was filled with rich spiritual qi. It was much more abundant than the surrounding spiritual qi. After Ning Cheng knew that this might be the Dawn Forest, he did not dare to be reckless. No matter what was at the bottom of the lake, it was not something that he could touch with his current cultivation level. If his cultivation level was higher, he might have gone to the bottom of the lake to see the situation, but now he did not want to touch this place. Retreating from the lake, Ning Cheng found a giant tree with a diameter of nearly 15 meters. He intended to temporarily cultivate in the heart of this giant tree. Trees with a diameter of more than 10 meters were not many on Earth, but here they were everywhere. The tree that Ning Cheng found was not even the thickest, but because he was hiding in this tree to cultivate, he could directly see the movements in the lake. Ning Cheng thought that he was going to make a tree nest for himself, but after he climbed to the top of the tree, he found out that there was already a huge cave in the heart of the tree. There was a fishy smell in the cave. He did not know what kind of monstrous beast had left it behind. Looking at the inside of the tree hole, it seemed that no monstrous beast had entered this tree hole for many years. Ning Cheng cleaned the tree hole and arranged a concealment array formation and a defensive array formation on top of the tree. He did not dare to arrange the array formation on the edge of the lake. His level of array formations was too low, although he could barely understand a level 2 array formation. But with his standard of refining array flags, he could only arrange a few level 1 array formations. Sitting in the tree hole, Ning Cheng arranged a level 1 concealment array formation. Only then did he feel relieved. After arranging a few array formations, Ning Cheng understood that no matter where he was, the more he understood, the more advantageous it would be for him. If he did not know how to arrange array formations, then he could only be the same as before, and could only passively pray that others would not find him. Now that he had arranged an array formation, even if a monstrous beast attacked him, he would be aware of it before it happened. Although he was sitting in the tree hole, all the changes in the lake were in Ning Cheng's eyes, which allowed him to cultivate with peace of mind, and also to check the changes in the lake at any time. Ning Cheng took out more than 200 spirit stones, He intended to advance his cultivation to the late stages of the qi-gathering realm. Along with Ning Cheng's cultivation, he once again forgot everything, as he turned the spirit stones into powder. The spiritual qi within the spirit stones combined with the mysterious yellow aura constantly scoured his body. Ning Cheng could even vaguely feel that while his cultivation was improving, the qualifications of his spiritual roots were also improving. Even if he had the spiritual qi to supplement him, Ning Cheng still needed to eat something from time to time. He hadn't cultivated to the point where he could rely on spiritual energy to abstain from eating. Time passed day by day. When the Zhen Qi in his body had once again gathered to a certain degree, a subtle sound rang out in his body, followed by a powerful Zhen Qi rushing through the meridians of his body. Some of the impurities in his body were expelled from his skin. A strong qi flow was transferred to Ning Cheng. He knew that he had advanced to the qi-gathering 5th level. Ning Cheng sighed and opened his eyes, only to find that the spirit stones that he had taken out had all been used up. Amazing! Ning Cheng said to himself, from the qi-gathering 4th level to the qi-gathering 5th level, he had used up more than 200 spirit stones. Perhaps only someone with the lowest qualifications like him would be able to do so. Not only that, but this time from the qi-gathering 4th level to the qi-gathering 5th level, he had used up a month's time. If it continued like this, then the remaining spirit stones would definitely not be able to support him to cultivate to the qi-gathering 7th level. Ning Cheng took out the 2 jade pieces that Fang Jian had given him. He had advanced from the qi-gathering 4th level to the qi-gathering 5th level. His spiritual sense had more than doubled. Presumably he should be able to see the contents of the jade pieces. He did not have many spirit stones. It would be better to specialize in the study of magical techniques. This time Ning Cheng's spiritual sense did not let him down. His spiritual sense swept through the first jade piece, and was able to clearly understand the contents of the jade piece, 36 Profound Ice Spear Technique. After understanding the contents of the jade piece, Ning Cheng almost broke out into curses. That bastard Fang Jian knew that he only had a flying sword, but still gave him a spear technique. Although it was a profound grade cultivation method, but what use would it have for him? He could not even think about obtaining a spear-type artifact. Not to mention this spear technique was not suitable for his spiritual roots. It was not easy for him to obtain an advanced level magical technique, but he could not cultivate it. Although Ning Cheng was very depressed, he still looked at the 36 Profound Ice Spear technique. It would have been better if he did not look at it, but the more he looked at it, the more depressed he became. After cultivating the 36 Profound Ice Spear technique to the end, it can form 36 Profound Ice Spear shadows. These 36 spear shadows can form a profound ice spear net, and can also form a profound ice spear array. Under the cover of these 36 spear shadows, how could an ordinary opponent have the opportunity to escape? This was a big killing weapon. This thing was good, but he could not cultivate it. Ning Cheng sighed. He put the jade piece aside, and once again took out another jade piece for the magical technique. The few words on the jade piece for the magical technique made Ning Cheng even more angry. 7 Pleiades Ice Needle. This was also a profound grade magical technique, but it was an ice-type magical technique. Ning Cheng was aware of his own support spiritual roots. He had 3 support spiritual roots: fire, wood and earth. Now Ning Cheng had a certain understanding of spiritual roots. The ice spiritual roots were classified as a variant spiritual root, and cultivators with this kind of spiritual root would be heavily cultivated. Cultivation methods with ice spiritual roots. Only cultivators with ice spiritual roots and water spiritual roots would be able to cultivate the greatest effect. For cultivators with other spiritual roots to cultivate it, the effect would be greatly reduced. This 7 Pleiades Ice Needle was even more insidious, but it required an ice needle artifact that was even finer than a cow's hair. If cultivated to the extreme, this ice needle artifact would be able to evade one's spiritual consciousness. This kind of thing to sneak attack others was simply impossible to guard against. Such a vicious magical technique, but I like it. Ning Cheng said to himself. His heart was even more depressed. What was the use of liking it? Not to mention that he did not have an ice spiritual root. Even if he did have an ice spiritual root, and could cultivate the 7 Pleiades Ice Needle artifact, he did not have an ice needle artifact. Ning Cheng rubbed his head in distress. He knew that with his qi-gathering realm cultivation, he was able to use his spiritual sense, which was already very amazing, but even if he did not have his own magical techniques, compared to others, he was still far behind. The magical techniques that he had mastered, other than the wind edge, there was also the fireball. These were the basic magical techniques that had nothing to do with spiritual roots, and anyone could cultivate them. In addition to this, he had derived the fire edge technique. As for his powerful sword light, it was entirely because of the flying sword that he was able to use. If he met an opponent who also had an artifact, then his sword light would not even be worth mentioning. Ning Cheng was somewhat disappointed as he put away the magical technique Jade Strip and came out of the tree hole. He had been cultivating in the tree hole for a month and was already bored to the point of panicking. Once again standing at the edge of the lake, Ning Cheng was ready to cast a few clear water techniques to wash himself, when suddenly he saw a several feet high column of water rushing out from the center of the lake. This time the water column was exactly the same as the one he had seen a month ago. It was still filled with a rich spiritual qi. The only difference was that this time the water column seemed to be a bit higher. After 10 breaths, the water column once again fell down, and the center of the lake once again returned to its tranquil state. Ning Cheng calculated for a moment. He soon found that the last time the water column appeared, and today's water column appeared was exactly a month apart. With such a regular water column, and with such a rich spiritual qi, Ning Cheng really wanted to go into the center of the lake to have a look, but thinking that he did not have a magical technique, he immediately became discouraged. The 36 profound ice spears and the 7 Pleiades ice needles sounded very powerful, but how could he learn it? Without a spear, could he not use a sword? This jade strip had the 36 profound ice spears, and he himself could cultivate the 36 profound ice swords. Although his spiritual root was not an ice spiritual root, but he had the mysterious yellow bead, who said that he could not cultivate it. Ning Cheng thought until here, and once again became excited. He directly took out his flying sword. Since he did not have a spear, then he would practice with a sword. Perhaps after he finished practicing the 36 profound ice spears, this magical technique would be renamed to 36 profound ice swords. Ning Cheng's perception and memory were unparalleled. What he was worried about was whether or not his spiritual root would be able to cultivate the 36 profound ice spears. When he brought out his flying sword and began to cultivate the 36 profound ice spears magical technique, he immediately knew that he had been thinking too much. The qi that was flowing everywhere, under the mnemonic chant of the 36 profound ice spears magical technique, unexpectedly turned into the profound ice true qi without any delay, and this profound ice true qi and his spiritual sense also combined together without any delay, turning his flying sword into a strange sword light. The only thing he needed to worry about was not that his spiritual root was not an ice spiritual root, but how long could his spiritual sense support him in controlling the profound ice sword light. Pa! A sound rang out. Because his spiritual sense was not enough, Ning Cheng's flying sword fell to the ground. Ning Cheng was not surprised. Instead he was happy and laughed and said, "I really have outstanding qualifications. Even an ice-type magical technique can be mastered so easily." Although he was very excited and was praising himself, Ning Cheng knew that the reason he could cultivate the 36 profound ice spears magical technique had nothing to do with his qualifications, but was definitely related to the mysterious yellow bead. He even suspected that with the help of the mysterious yellow origin, he had gained an ice spiritual root, but he had not tested it yet, because he was not sure. Only when he had the opportunity in the future, would he test it out with his artifact, to see if he really had an ice spiritual root or not. With the opportunity to cultivate the magical technique, Ning Cheng patiently controlled the flying sword, and again cast the 36 profound ice spears magical technique that he had modified. In the beginning he could only cast one sword light, but under the constant revision of the 36 profound ice spears magical technique in his mind, after 3 days he was able to cast 3 profound ice sword lights. 5 days later, Ning Cheng was able to cast 5 profound ice sword lights. But Ning Cheng was also aware that with his current cultivation, 5 profound ice sword lights was his limit. If he had not shot out his flying sword, he could have released 2 more sword lights. But if he did not shoot the flying sword, then the power of the sword lights would be limited. From this, it could be seen that spiritual sense was a good thing. Since he could cultivate the 36 profound ice spears magical technique, Ningcheng certainly would not let go of the 7 Pleiades ice needle technique. He did not have a needle-type artifact, so he could only use the flying sword as a replacement. Even if he used the flying sword as a replacement for the flying needle, Ningcheng was still constantly modifying the 7 Pleiades ice needle technique. On the 10th day, Ningcheng was able to skillfully control the flying sword for a sneak attack. But the size of the flying sword was too big, it was completely unable to play the role of a sneak attack. Chapter 45. The place where Ningcheng was cultivating was incomparably quiet, other than the red-eyed monstrous beast that had chased after Ningcheng. Ningcheng did not encounter any other monstrous beasts. Another month passed by. Ningcheng had already combined the 36 profound ice spear technique and the 7 Pleiades ice needle technique together. He first used the profound ice sword light, and then used the other curved blade type artifact as the 7 Pleiades ice needle, and hid it within the profound ice sword light for a sneak attack. Unfortunately, he did not have the real 7 Pleiades ice needle. If he had the real 7 Pleiades ice needle, even if he was at the great perfection of the Qi gathering realm, he would dare to fight. That scimitar-type artifact was snatched from Taoist Pu's hands. But using it as a 7 Pleiades ice needle was a far cry from it. Even so, Ningcheng believed that with his current strength, with the combination of the 36 profound ice swords and the 7 Pleiades ice needle, an ordinary Qi gathering cultivator would not be able to resist. On this day, Ningcheng was still thinking about whether or not to melt the curved blade in his hands, and then refine it into a fine needle, when he suddenly heard a light voice coming from the wind. Someone's coming? Ningcheng immediately affirmed that he had not heard it wrong, and was sure that someone was coming. This place was in the depths of the Dawn Forest. Ordinary people would absolutely not come to this place. Even if it was an essence-building cultivator, they would not dare to walk through the Dawn Forest alone. So what kind of person would dare to come here? The reason why he hid here and didn't dare to leave was because his strength was too low and he didn't dare to run around. Ningcheng was the first to hide in the tree hole. Before he could determine whether this person was an enemy or a friend, he did not want others to know that he was in this place. Ningcheng did not hide for long, when a burst of light and steady footsteps arrived, causing Ningcheng to become even more careful. Even though there were sounds of footsteps, they were extremely steady and carried with them a dignified aura. Clearly, the cultivation of the person who came was not low. At the very least, it was higher than his. After a dozen breaths, 2 men and a woman carefully walked over and appeared at the lakeside. Qishui, is this the lake you mentioned? The one who spoke was the man walking at the back. His head was very small, but he was very thick, which made him look very uncoordinated. Hearing this person's question, the man with the long goatee in the front stopped, pointed to the lake in front of them and said, "That's right, Fei Chen, this is the Dawn Forest's eternal clear lake. Only a few people know about this place. The reason why I know about this place is because I have the ability to cross through the Dawn Forest. The last time I passed by this place, I found out by chance." When Ningcheng heard this, he was extremely shocked in his heart. He knew that the Dawn Forest was extremely dangerous. Even if it was Ji Luofei's aunt, she would not dare to say that she would be able to pass through the Dawn Forest. This goateed man actually had such ability? Cross the Dawn Forest? At this time Ningcheng could vaguely see the cultivation of this person. He should also be a cultivator in the true condensation realm. Presumably, the man and woman with him were also cultivators of the true condensation realm. A cultivator of the true condensation realm, although his cultivation was good, but how could he say that he could cross the Dawn Forest? Unless he had a safe route map of the Dawn Forest. One had to know that after passing through the Dawn Forest, one would be able to reach the Yuan continent. Only with a safe route map would one be able to cross the Dawn Forest and reach the Yuan continent. Otherwise, in the Dawn Forest, they would definitely end up being killed by the monstrous beasts. Good if what Qi Shui said is true, and that there really is such a thing here, then after we obtain it, we can go through the Dawn Forest together and go to the Yuan continent. The small-headed man said with certainty. I also agree. The female cultivator in the middle also expressed her opinion. As the three of them spoke till now, Ningqing only knew that the three of them had come for something in the lake, but he did not know what exactly it was. At this time Ningqing did not dare to make any movements. Any one of these three people could instantly kill him. Once he was discovered by them, then he would only be courting death. I have already told you that the poison mist that this thing spits out is incomparably poisonous, so we will first take the detoxification pill, and then provoke it to come up. Once it is provoked to come out, Fei Chun and I will attack it. Younger sister Fan Hong will hide behind us. Once we lure it out of the lake, the three of us will immediately kill it. As long as we do not let it return to the lake, the three of us will definitely be able to kill it. After the man with the goatee called Qi Shui finished, he took out 3 pure white pills. He first took one of the pills, and handed the other 2 to the other 2 true condensation cultivators. At the same time, his eyes were staring at the center of the lake. The other 2 true condensation cultivators each grabbed a pill and swallowed it. The female cultivator who had swallowed the pill retreated a few steps, and hid behind a giant tree. Fei Chun, I will provoke it to come out of the lake. You will hide at the edge of the lake, and when it chases me, you will block its path. After the goatee called Qi Shui finished, he directly took out a fist-sized black bead. And then with a flick of his hand, this bead was like a cannonball, as it was thrown into the lake by him. After a few breaths, a huge muffled explosion sound rose from the bottom of the lake. The huge lake surface was directly blasted apart by this explosion. At this moment, one could even see that the center of the lake had formed a whirlpool-shaped hole. A roar resounded. Almost at the same time, a 50 or 60 feet long dark red monstrous beast rushed out of the whirlpool. Ningqing's heart almost shrank. This turned out to be a flood dragon. On Earth, this was a legendary thing, but he actually saw it today. This flood dragon's entire body was covered with dark red scales. From top to bottom it was one. It looked extremely beautiful, and its 4 giant claws looked like 4 iron rakes. What surprised Ningqing the most was that this flood dragon unexpectedly only had a single horn. The flood dragon's horn was snow white, and was nearly a meter long. It was a one-horned flood dragon. After this one-horned flood dragon came up, it just swept its huge tail, and the several dozen feet radius of the clear water lake immediately kicked up a huge wave. A large amount of lake water rushed up to the shore, and all the water plants on the shore fell to the ground. Ningqing could clearly feel the formidable aura coming from it. This was definitely a monstrous beast in the essence-building realm, or even beyond the essence-building realm. A monstrous beast that surpassed the essence-building realm was a Class 4 monstrous beast. Initially when he was in the Tsongqing 2-star Academy, he had seen Wen Jilu's imposing manner, and had also seen Ji Luofei's aunt's imposing manner. But no matter which one of them, their imposing manner was far inferior to this one-horned flood dragon. These 3 people with trivial true condensation cultivations dared to challenge this one-horned flood dragon. It was simply courting death. No matter how Ningqing thought about it, he could not figure out why these 3 people would come here to court death. Qi Shui, what's going on? This is not a Class 2 red poison devouring python. This is a Class 4 one-horned flood dragon. How could you make such a big mistake? That small-headed true condensation cultivator also discovered the dreadfulness of this one-horned flood dragon, and immediately cried out in horror, while simultaneously turning around to escape. What a joke, they were just a few true condensation cultivators, wanting to kill a Class 4 monstrous beast. If this was not courting death, then what was? Ningqing's entire body was covered in cold sweat. He did not think that in the place where he cultivated, there would unexpectedly be a Class 4 monstrous beast. He did not know if this one-horned flood dragon disdained to bother with him, or if it did not discover him. But Ningqing was sure that the probability of him not discovering him was 0. How could such a monstrous beast not discover him? It's true. The last time I saw it was definitely not this one-horned flood dragon. It should be that this one-horned flood dragon killed the red poison devouring python, and then occupied the spiritual essence at the bottom of the lake. The long-bearded man spoke in a panic. Ningqing, who was watching from the side, felt that this long-bearded man did not seem to be very panicked. This kind of feeling made him feel very strange. Since Ning Cheng could feel this, then the small-headed true condensation cultivator called Fei Chen obviously could also feel it. Not waiting for him to react, the long-bearded man had already retreated behind him, while simultaneously kicking the small-headed true condensation cultivator called Fei Chen in the back. The small-headed true condensation cultivator originally wanted to quickly retreat, but when he was kicked by the short-headed true condensation cultivator, he instead rushed forward and fell right into the open mouth of the one-horned flood dragon. The one-horned flood dragon was obviously not polite towards the food that was delivered to its mouth, and directly swallowed the small-headed true condensation cultivator called Fei Chen. The long-bearded man once again quickly retreated. After the one-horned flood dragon swallowed the man called Fei Chen, he arrived at the side of another female cultivator. At this time this female cultivator already knew that she and the other person had been deceived by the long-bearded man. At the same time as the long-bearded man came over, she immediately brought out a flying sword. But just as she brought out her flying sword, it fell down powerlessly. "Ma Qishui, you are really vicious. We are like brothers and sisters, yet you actually tried to poison me and Fei Chen." This female cultivator spoke these words as she was kicked by the long-bearded man, while simultaneously flying towards the one-horned flood dragon that was opening its mouth. The one-horned flood dragon did not hesitate for even half a moment. After swallowing the female cultivator, it issued an even more explosive roar and rushed towards the long-bearded man. The next moment, several blue-colored water lights were spat out by the one-horned flood dragon. At this time the long-bearded man unexpectedly brought out a round shield, apparently wanting to block the water lights spat out by the flood dragon. Pung pung. After a series of sounds, the long-bearded man's round shield was directly smashed into pieces by the water lights spat out by the one-horned flood dragon. At the same time that the long-bearded man's round shield was smashed into pieces, the long-bearded man was also sent flying by the formidable power of the water lights, directly crashing into a giant tree, as he crazily spurted out several mouthfuls of blood. Just this one attack made the long-bearded man's face turn incomparably pale. It was obvious that he did not think that this one-horned flood dragon would be so powerful. At this time, he unexpectedly did not choose to escape, but rather brought out a four-edged sword-type artifact. It seems that he still wanted to fight against the flood dragon. At this time, the flood dragon suddenly gave out a loud roar, and unexpectedly threw away the long-bearded man, as it rolled on the ground incessantly. In less than the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, the flood dragon had already rolled on the ground, forming a huge pit. Some of the trees that were close to the flood dragon were completely broken by the formidable power of the flood dragon, and the continuous cracking sounds could be heard. Ning Cheng suddenly came to understand, and in his heart he secretly sighed that this guy called Ma Qishui was really insidious. This guy had brought two of his companions with him, and had given each of them a detoxification pill. In fact, this detoxification pill was an extremely powerful and terrifying poison. The two cultivators who had eaten the detoxification pill were now swallowed by the one-horned flood dragon. As such, the toxicity was completely transferred to the one-horned flood dragon. At this time the one-horned flood dragon also understood its own situation. While it was rolling on the ground, it was trying to escape to the clear water lake. It seems that it wanted to enter the lake to detoxify the poison. The long-bearded man also understood that this was a very critical time. He did not care about his own injuries, and directly brought out the four-edged sword-type artifact in his hands, and rushed towards the one-horned flood dragon. Chapter 46. This attack from the goat-bearded man had almost gathered all of the true essence in his body, causing the four-edged swords to shine with a sword light that was nearly 10 feet long. This sword light was completely different from the sword light that Ning Cheng had brought out before. The sword light that Ning Cheng had brought out with his flying sword before, although it looked longer, but compared to this substantial sword light, it was a far cry. The four-edged sword light directly stabbed into the one-horned flood dragon's neck, and as the sword light collided with the one-horned flood dragon's scales, sparks flew everywhere, and even the sound of metal clashing could be heard. After this sword light completely dissipated, the one-horned flood dragon's neck was unexpectedly not pierced through. The long-bearded man seemed to have already expected that his sword light would not be able to break the neck of the one-horned flood dragon. Unexpectedly, after this sword light, he immediately followed up with 3 equally ferocious sword lights. Puff! When the goatee's 4th sword light pierced through the one-horned flood dragon's neck, the soft scales on the one-horned flood dragon's neck were directly torn apart, while at the same time an arrow of blood shot out. Ning Cheng could clearly feel that the blood arrow had already turned into a purplish-red color. It could be seen that the 2 poisonous pills in the hands of the goat-bearded man were extremely terrifying. When the one-horned flood dragon's neck was pierced, it immediately caused the one-horned flood dragon to go berserk. Its huge tail swept back without any warning. The goat-bearded man, who had continuously chopped out several sword lights, was already running out of true essence. When the one-horned flood dragon swept back, he simply had no way to dodge, and was directly swept into his waist. The long-bearded man also spouted an arrow of blood, and was once again swept away by the one-horned flood dragon, and once again crashed into a distant giant tree. Even Ning Cheng was able to hear the crisp sounds of his bones breaking under the bombardment. Ning Cheng was secretly cursing in his heart. This kind of person who betrayed his friends was someone he despised the most. It would be best if this fellow was also swallowed by the one-horned flood dragon. The one-horned flood dragon was poisoned, and its neck was cut open. That tail attack just now was already the last radiance of a setting sun. At this time, after sweeping away the goatee, it also became dispirited. It only trembled a few times in the same place, and then completely stopped. The goatee lying on the ground took out a black bottle, poured something into his mouth, and slowly stood up. Haha, I Machi Shui, have been planning for nearly 2 years, and today I finally succeeded. He just laughed, and blood flowed down from the corner of his mouth, but the excitement in his eyes was beyond doubt. Is that so? Then should I say that I've waited for 2 months, and today, I finally succeeded? Ning Cheng's voice made the long-bearded man suddenly sluggish. He had never thought that there would be someone else in this place. Then he saw Ning Cheng jump down from a big tree. When Ma Chi-shui saw Ning Cheng, he immediately understood his own situation. It was too early for him to be happy. At this moment, there was only endless regret in his heart. He regretted not looking around before coming here. If he had been more careful, he would not have ended up like this. But he quickly calmed down, as he stared at Ning Cheng and said in a cold voice, "Although I am seriously injured, but if I go all out, you are just a trivial cultivator at the Qi-gathering 5th level. We'll split the flood dragon's skin in half, give me the flood dragon's horn, and then we'll go our separate ways." If not for the map of the Dawn Forest, Ning Cheng would have already made his move. He absolutely would not have traded with such a person. But without a map, he couldn't get out at all. "I heard that you have a map of the Dawn Forest. Give me your map, and then we can talk about other things," Ning Cheng said without any expression on his face. "No problem," Ma Chi-shui said as he reached his hand into the storage bag on his waist. Ning Cheng did not wait for the opposite party to take out the map. The flying sword in his hands immediately brought out 5 profound ice sword lights. "I also heard that there is a spiritual essence spring at the bottom of this lake. Even if there is no spiritual essence spring, this young master would still want to kill you." At this moment the long-bearded man did not have the ability to resist. Puff puff puff. The 5 profound ice sword lights directly passed through the chest of the long-bearded Ma Chi-shui, bringing out 5 blood arrows. These 5 blood arrows immediately turned into 5 pieces of blood ice. Ma Chi-shui's face was filled with unwillingness as he pointed at Ning Cheng. He really did not intend to start, but this bastard at the Qi-gathering 5th level actually took the opportunity to sneak attack him. He really did not understand. Why did Ning Cheng not wait for him to take out the map before starting? The flying sword in Ning Cheng's hands once again swept out a sword light. Ma Chi-shui's head was like a football, as it was swept away. Ning Cheng had been here for less than half a year, but his experience as a rogue cultivator had risen in a straight line. Since Ma Chi-shui had reached into the storage bag to take out something, it meant that his things were inside the storage bag. As long as he killed him, would he still be afraid of not having a map? Besides, if Ma Chi-shui had lied to him, even if he forced the opposite party to make a map, he estimated that the other party would not be able to make a real map. Moreover, with Ma Qishui's injuries, wanting him to make a map, it was simply impossible. After Ningqing killed Ma Qishui, he first arrived at Ma Qishui's side, grabbed his storage bag, and threw it into his own storage bag. At the same time, he sent out a few fireballs, turning Ma Qishui into flying ash. After taking care of the long-bearded Ma Qishui, Ningqing returned to the side of the one-horned flood dragon that was poisoned by Ma Qishui. At this time the one-horned flood dragon was covered in black blood. A burst of fishy smell assaulted his nostrils. Ningqing immediately felt a burst of dizziness. Such a powerful poison, Ningqing was secretly startled in his heart. He had just smelled a little bit of the smell, and was already feeling dizzy. Ningqing quickly took out a piece of cloth and covered his nose and mouth, before approaching the one-horned flood dragon. Even if Ningqing did not know what materials were needed for crafting artifacts, he knew that this one-horned flood dragon's body was a treasure. A level 4 monstrous beast would already have a monster core, but he did not know if this one-horned flood dragon would still have a monster core after eating such a powerful poison. Ningqing threw the 4-edged sword that was placed next to the one-horned flood dragon into his storage bag, and then took out his flying sword, wanting to break open the flood dragon's skin. The incomparably hard rubber made Ningqing realize that he had overestimated his own strength. He was at the Qi gathering 5th level, but he was not even able to cut open the hide of a monstrous beast. It could be seen that the skin of this one-horned flood dragon was extremely hard. This flood dragon was extremely poisonous. As such, Ningqing did not dare to put this thing into his storage bag. Moreover, his storage bag would not be able to hold this one-horned flood dragon. Fortunately, no one came to this place. After the one-horned flood dragon was killed, the smell of blood spread out, but the smell of blood contained a strong poison. A demonic beast's sense of smell was extremely sensitive. No demonic beast was willing to come to a place that emitted venom. Ningqing spent a full 2 days before he was able to take off the flood dragon's skin bit by bit. He also took out the flood dragon's horn and the flood dragon's tendon, and put them all into his storage bag. Especially the horn of the flood dragon. Ningqing had already planned to find someone to refine it into a 7 Pleiades ice needle. Once he had the 7 Pleiades ice needle, he would be able to cast this magical technique, and it would definitely be a supreme weapon. He did not find the flood dragon's core, and did not know if the flood dragon's core had already changed, or if the one-horned flood dragon was not a class 4 monstrous beast. After dealing with these things, Ningqing completely burned the flood dragon with fire, and then buried the burnt residue in an open space. After Ningqing tidied up the place, although it still looked very messy, but it was much better than before. Although he had made a small fortune, Ningqing did not choose to go back to the tree hole to cultivate. He first jumped into the clear water lake. According to the words of the long-bearded man, this clear water lake contains spiritual essence. And the reason why this one-horned flood dragon occupied this lake was because of the spiritual essence in this lake. Now that the overlord one-horned flood dragon in this clear water lake had been killed, he certainly would not be in any danger if he entered the clear water lake. In fact, Ningqing's guess was not wrong. After he entered the clear water lake, he did not have any difficulties swimming to the bottom of the lake next to a huge group of rocks. A trace of rich spiritual qi was emitted from the group of rocks. Ningqing easily found a huge cave in the middle of the group of rocks. This cave was definitely the place where the one-horned flood dragon cultivated. Now that the one-horned flood dragon was gone, Ningqing did not have to worry about any dangers. He directly swam into the cave in the middle of the group of rocks. The water in the cave was getting less and less. Ningqing swam to the back. He could even walk inside. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the cave was completely devoid of water, and a glimmer of light appeared in front of him. Ningqing looked at the pair of huge night pearls in front of him in amazement. This pair of night pearls, if he were to obtain them on Earth, then it would immediately cause a sensation all over the world. Even if he did not obtain them on Earth, in this place, this pair of night pearls would also be priceless. A slight breeze blew from the inside of the cave. Ningqing immediately understood that this cave was definitely connected to some place outside. Ningqing walked along the cave for more than 10 meters, until a spring appeared in front of him. At the top of the spring, there was still a constant flow of spring liquid seeping out. A rich spiritual qi was emitted from the spring. How could Ningqing not know that this was the spiritual essence that the long-bearded man was talking about? Next to this small spiritual essence pool, there was a flat stone about the same size as the spring. This stone was polished to an incomparably smooth level. Ningqing did not need to guess. He knew that this flat stone was the place where the one-horned flood dragon cultivated. It must have been hard for the one-horned flood dragon, with its several feet long body hovering above the flat stone it cultivated. Such a big spiritual essence spring made Ningqing's heart somewhat palpitate. Even when he had obtained more than 500 spirit stones, he was not this excited. This was not only an excellent place to cultivate, but it was also a source of flowing spiritual qi. Spirit stones were consumables, moreover he did not have many of them. Quietly cultivating in this place was the real hard truth. No wonder that the one-horned flood dragon was able to cultivate to rank 4. Unfortunately, the one-horned flood dragon had been cultivating for a long time. Its experience was very poor, otherwise with its strength, even if there were dozens of the long-bearded man, it would still not be enough to deal with them. Ningqing once again walked towards the top of the cave, and found that there was nothing else inside. There was only a slight breeze coming from above, and then forming a cycle, and then blowing back. Ningqing, for the first time, decided to use this place as a base for his cultivation. He was not anxious to cultivate, but rather return to the entrance of the cave at the bottom of the lake. With the flying sword chopping down, in just a short time, the entrance of the cave was completely blocked. With the strength of the one-horned flood dragon, even if it did not block the entrance of the cave, there would not be any other monstrous beasts that would come to snatch this spiritual essence spring, but Ningqing could not. His cultivation was really too weak, he was only at the trivial qi gathering 5th level. Chapter 47. After blocking the original entrance to the rock cave, Ningqing still did not feel relieved, as he arranged a simple shielding array formation, and once again returned to the spiritual essence pond. Ningqing did not touch the materials of the one-horned flood dragon. He didn't know how to refine artifacts, especially that flood dragon horn. He planned to use it to refine a fine needle artifact for sneak attacks. At this time Ningqing took out the storage bag of the long-bearded man. What he wanted to know the most was whether the long-bearded man had a map of the Dawn Forest or not. The goat-bearded man's storage bag, according to Yi's words, should be called a storage bag. The space inside it was really small and pitiful. The things inside were also pitifully few. In addition to a few low-level spirit herbs, there were a few unknown pills and a jade slip whose contents could not be seen. Apart from that, there was nothing else. The most precious thing that the goat-bearded man had was the 4-edged sword that Ningqing had confiscated. Ningqing once again threw the goat-bearded man's storage bag into his own storage bag, as he felt somewhat disappointed in his heart. Since he could not find the map, then in the future he would have to rely on his own ability to get out of the Dawn Forest. This long-bearded man had said that he could cross the Dawn Forest. If it was not a lie, then it meant that he had already memorized the safe route in his mind. Cultivation did not have the luxury of time. With the help of a small spiritual pond, Ningqing spent almost all of his time on cultivation. Although Ningqing used the spiritual essence pond to cultivate, it was different from the one-horned flood dragon. The one-horned flood dragon knew that it could not absorb all the spiritual qi in the spiritual essence pond in one go. As for Ningqing, he directly drained the pond to catch the fish. He was afraid that he would absorb a little less, so why would he care about using it sparingly? A month later, Ningqing advanced to the qi gathering 6th level. 3 months later, Ningqing broke through the intermediate stages of the qi gathering realm and arrived at the qi gathering 7th level. At this moment, the true energy in his body had formed a stream, and when it moved it was like true energy, incomparably powerful. 5 months later, Ningqing advanced to the qi gathering 8th level, but at the same time he had to leave this small spiritual essence pond. He had already used up all the spiritual energy in the spirit essence pond. It would probably take him at least 3 years to gather such a pond of spiritual liquid. Ningqing believed that he would not stay here and wait for 3 years. He was already at the qi gathering 8th level, and would soon advance to the qi gathering 9th level. Once he reached the qi gathering 9th level, he would have to face the problem of how to enter the true condensation realm. In the Ping continent, there were very few true condensation cultivators. In addition to the scarcity of spiritual qi resources and the problem of spiritual roots, there was also another reason why there was no true condensation pill. The true condensation pill was something that a cultivator at the qi gathering 9th level must use in order to advance to the true condensation realm. Ningcheng had also seen in the jade strip that Fang Jian had given him that there were some people who did not need the true condensation pill to advance to the true condensation realm. But Ningcheng was sure that he was not that kind of person. If he wanted to advance to the true condensation realm, then he might not even need a single true condensation pill. Refining the true condensation pill required more than 10 kinds of precious spiritual grasses, but the most important one, and also the most difficult to obtain, was the golden cicada fruit. Ningcheng had a golden cicada fruit on him, so he decided to leave this place and find someone to refine it into a true condensation pill. Ningcheng obviously thought that things were too simple. The Dawn Forest did not give him a way out just because he had advanced to the Qi gathering 8th level. For an entire month, Ningcheng was still trapped at the edge of the Clearwater Lake. It was not that he did not want to go out, but over the course of a month, Ningcheng found that every area of the Dawn Forest was guarded by an extremely powerful monstrous beast. During the time he was looking for a way out, he encountered more than 10 Class 2 monstrous beasts, and even encountered Class 3 monstrous beasts twice. If he had not run away quickly, and the Class 3 monstrous beasts did not chase after him, he would not have been able to stay at the Clearwater Lake. But Ningcheng was also not without some gains. There were already many monstrous beasts that had tacitly agreed that the Clearwater Lake was his territory. This was the result of Ningcheng killing several Class 2 monstrous beasts. Ningcheng was now at the Qi gathering 8th level. He had modified the 36 profound ice sword technique, and could now cast 12 of them. But this was not the biggest gain for him. His biggest gain was that with the cultivation of Qi gathering 8th level, he was able to step on a flying sword and fly for a certain distance. The cultivation method to fly on a flying sword was something that Ningcheng had obtained from the jade strip that was given to him by Fang Jiani, which made Ningcheng feel very proud of himself. In the Ping continent, even some of the cultivators in the true condensation realm were not able to step on a flying sword, but now he, a cultivator at the Qi gathering 8th level, was able to do it. Even if Ningcheng knew that his cultivation was high enough that he could step on a flying sword, but when he really stepped on a flying sword, his heart was still filled with excitement. Before, when he had shot out the fireball and the wind edge, he had never felt this kind of excitement. Fortunately, Ningcheng was aware of his own limitations. He was very clear that if he wanted to fly out of the Dawn Forest, his cultivation was still far from enough. In a month's time, Ningcheng had killed hundreds of Class 1 and below monstrous beasts. He was constantly looking for a way out, and constantly had to pass through the territories of other monstrous beasts, which also caused him to constantly have conflicts with other monstrous beasts. Once he even beheaded dozens of Class 1 monstrous wolves in one breath. Using the 36 profound ice sword technique to kill these monstrous wolves, it was as simple as harvesting wheat. During this time, Ningcheng summed up a rule: if he passed through the territory of a Class 3 monstrous beast, and was far away from the Class 3 monstrous beast, then the Class 3 monstrous beast would simply ignore him. If he passed through the territory of a monstrous beast whose cultivation was similar to his, it would instead cause a conflict. After figuring out this rule, Ningcheng finally understood why when he was at the edge of the Clearwater Lake, the one-horned flood dragon had ignored him. It turned out that it regarded him as a dispensable ant. According to Ningcheng's summary of his experience, all the low-leveled monstrous beasts that lived in the territory of the high-leveled monstrous beasts were just a lunchbox for the high-leveled monstrous beasts. This lunchbox was something that the high-leveled monstrous beasts wanted to eat, and would be delivered to them at any time. In other words, the 2 months that he had been living at the edge of the Clearwater Lake was in fact a lunchbox for the one-horned flood dragon. Once the one-horned flood dragon was free, it could kill him at any time. On the contrary, if he passed through the territory of a monstrous beast with a similar cultivation, then these monstrous beasts would think that he had come to snatch their territory, and would immediately try to protect their territory from being invaded. It was precisely because he knew this point that Ning Cheng did not hesitate to ruthlessly kill the monstrous beasts that came to the Clearwater Lake. According to the law of the jungle, he absolutely could not give the rest of the monstrous beasts an illusion, and let those monstrous beasts think that he was easy to bully. In this 1 month of killing, Ning Cheng's fighting experience and the progress of his 2 magical techniques had increased by leaps and bounds. With his current experience, if he was still at the Qi gathering 3rd level and fought against that Xiang Fei Do, then he would absolutely not be injured. After Ning Cheng's crazy killing spree during this period of time, many of the monstrous beasts around the Clearwater Lake already knew that Ning Cheng was very aggressive and would not show any mercy. Later, as long as Ning Cheng did not stay in their territory for a long time, these monstrous beasts were generally not willing to come out and fight with Ning Cheng, and would directly pretend to be ostriches and let Ning Cheng pass. For Ning Cheng, if he left the Clearwater Lake and did not find a way out, it would not be a good thing. At least in this area of the Clearwater Lake, he could be regarded as an overlord. A brown thorn bear at this time was roaring at Ning Cheng, but it did not dare to rush towards Ning Cheng. It was roaring at Ning Cheng because Ning Cheng had once again come to its territory, and had even stayed for a long time without leaving. This thorn bear was an early stage class 2 monstrous beast, and had suffered 2 losses in the hands of Ning Cheng before, but fortunately, Ning Cheng had only passed by during those times. But this troublesome guy in its eyes unexpectedly came again, and this time he did not leave, and even dug around in its territory. Get lost, I'm just looking for a magnet. If you continue to be so long-winded, then don't blame me for starting. Ning Cheng waved the flying sword in his hand and roared at the thorn bear. He really came here to look for a magnet. He still had more than 300 low-grade spirit stones on him. Ning Cheng felt that these 300 low-grade spirit stones would not be enough to support him to cultivate to the Qi gathering 9th level. What's more, he also wanted to go out and look for a true condensation pill. For more than a month he still could not find a way out, so he decided to look for a magnet to make a compass. Ning Cheng guessed that the place he was in should be a planet, similar to a big magnet. He wanted to make something that could point to a fixed position, and then as long as he followed one of the directions, one day he would be able to get out. As for whether the compass he made pointed to the south or not, it did not affect him at all. But this class 2 thorn bear did not know that Ning Cheng was looking for a magnet, and roared at Ning Cheng. It wanted Ning Cheng to quickly leave its territory. Ning Cheng saw that this thorn bear was simply unable to understand his thoughts. He simply brought out his flying sword, and was ready to start. At this time, a burst of rapid footsteps came. It seemed that someone was rushing towards him. Ning Cheng immediately gave up the idea of fighting this thorn bear, and stared at the person rushing towards him. It was a young man covered with scars. The qi in his body was dissipating, and he could not see his cultivation level. When he saw Ning Cheng, his eyes suddenly showed a hint of joy, but then he fell to the ground due to exhaustion. Senior. Although he fell to the ground, the young man did not faint, and still called out to Ning Cheng with a look of expectation, apparently hoping that Ning Cheng would help him. The young man had just fallen to the ground, when a grayish-black wolf demon chased after him. This wolf demon was already a class 1 peak monstrous beast. When it chased after him, it immediately saw Ning Cheng holding a flying sword in his hands. Almost at the same time when it saw Ning Cheng, this grayish-black wolf demon quickly turned around, and in just 2 breaths of time, it escaped into the depths of the forest, disappearing from sight. Ning Cheng did not care about the grayish-black wolf demon that escaped. He just subconsciously touched his face, as he thought in his heart, "Am I very old? Being called as a senior by a person older than him?" One must know that his actual age was not even 18 years old. His hand touched his beard, which made Ning Cheng guess that he might look like an uncle who had experienced the vicissitudes of life. Ning Cheng took out a jade bottle and handed it to the young man who had fallen to the ground and said, "I do not have any life-saving pills, I only have a little water. You can drink it." Although Ning Cheng said that he only had a little water, but this water was really not ordinary. It was filled from the spiritual essence spring pool, and at least it was rich in spiritual qi. The young man looked at the distant thorn bear that was somewhat afraid of Ning Cheng, and his eyes flashed with a bit of hope. He did not take the water that Ningqing handed to him, but took out a package and handed it to Ningcheng and said, "I can't do it. Please help me give this package to Meng Yujing from the Hua Continent's Falling Star 5-Star Academy. Let her help me pass it to my younger brother Ko Shuyuan, and say that this is from Ko Hong." Chapter 48. An E in Nanyuan City was not bad, but Nanyuan City was also the place where Lan Yinyu lived. He and Lan Yinyu had a big enmity. With his current cultivation level, he was not Lan Yinyu's opponent. The reason why he did not shave his beard was to make him look older. This time when he went to Nanyuan City, he absolutely could not let his acquaintances see him. Ningqing wanted to see the contents of the notice, but he still held back his curiosity. If at this time he went to see the contents of the notice, it would certainly be seen as the first time he came here. The reason why he helped Ko Hong set up a tombstone was because Ningqing was filled with emotion about his future, and also to thank Ko Hong for leaving him a map. Ningcheng's heart was also somewhat gloomy. In this place, life was like a soap bubble, it could easily burst. Wasn't this young man called Ko Hong a portrayal of himself? If one day he died like this, at this moment who would he miss? Ningcheng was dressed like an adventurer, plus he had been fighting against monstrous beasts in the Dawn Forest for a long time, and also had a beard, so he did not need to pretend, and had the image of an adventurer. After he came here, he had been with an E for the longest time. Moreover, an E had saved his life. In his heart, he had long regarded an E as the closest person in this place. If an E had no one to take care of her, and was left alone in Nanyuan City, her fate would have been incomparably tragic. When the young man heard Ningcheng's words, his eyes suddenly showed anxiety, and his tone also became urgent. "My meridians are broken, my Zifu is broken, I absolutely cannot live. I have a map." Ningcheng returned to the lakeside, and buried the young man at the lakeside, and then simply made a tombstone, and wrote a few words on the tombstone, Ko Hong's tomb. Seeing Ningcheng leave, the thorn bear was relieved, and turned around to return to its lair. The stalls on both sides of the streets, the shops, the restaurants, the rest stops were all packed with people. It was just like a big venue. It was very lively. After repeatedly thinking about it, Ningcheng decided to first go to the Ping Continent's Nanyuan City. Nanyuan City was the capital of the Mingyi country. Moreover, the Clear Heart 3-Star Academy was also located in this place. The reason why Ningcheng wanted to take the risk to go to this place was because he was somewhat worried about an E. Although those people treated an E like a princess, but that was because an E said that she had a pure wood spiritual root. But what if an E did not have a pure spiritual root? Initially, he had bought a pair of pearl hair clips, but Tian Muwen had lost one of them, leaving only one in Ning Rulan's hands. Today, he was able to see the exact same hair clip again. Wasn't it God's will? This pearl hair clip originally appeared in pairs. This young girl in the cloth robe was holding on to one, while Ningcheng could only hold on to one. As such, he certainly wanted to buy the entire pair of pearl hair clip. If the young girl didn't want it, then he would buy it all. If the young girl wanted it, then he would ask the young girl to help him and give him the pearl hair clip. After saying this, the young man could no longer hold on. His slightly raised head fell to the ground. When Ningcheng heard that there really was a map, he immediately stepped forward and grabbed the leather scroll and said, "If I have the opportunity to go to the Hua Continent, I will definitely help you with this." At this time, Ningcheng was no longer the young and inexperienced teenager who had just escaped from the Tsangla city, as he had not shaved off his beard. From the Tsangqin province to the Dawn Forest, the arduous journey that he had gone through made Ningcheng not look like a teenager. Rather, he looked more like an adventurer who had experienced the vicissitudes of life. Compared to the Tsangla city and the Mingat city, the Nanyuan city was much more magnificent. Ningcheng was completely unable to see how long the Nanyuan city's walls were, and the huge city gates exuded an extremely ancient aura. Any place showed the long history of the Nanyuan city. This was just an ordinary country. Ningcheng was secretly thinking in his heart. If it was a place where the 9-Star Academy was located, then he did not know to what extent it would be magnificent. Putting the package into his storage bag, Ningcheng took out the leather scroll map. Opening the map, He really saw a blue-colored command token. He did not know what material the command token was made of, but it seemed to be very old. The command token was engraved with 2 words Clear Sky. Presumably this command token was the admission certificate for the Clear Sky 5-Star Academy. It seems that Ko Hong did not have a choice. If Ko Hong had a choice, then he would definitely not give these things to a stranger. As if he had heard Ning Cheng's promise, the young man sighed and completely died. Of course, his cultivation level was still too low. Ning Cheng wanted to go to the Nanyuan city to see if there was any way to exchange the golden cicada fruit for a true condensation pill. If he could advance to the true condensation realm, and then pass through the Dawn Forest, then it would be even more guaranteed. Ning Cheng did not open the contents of Ko Hong's package, but he had already swept it with his spiritual sense. It seemed to be a dark wooden box. In addition to that, there was also a letter and a storage bag. He estimated that the letter was written by Ko Hong to his fiancée Meng Yujing, but he did not know why Ko Hong did not put all the things in the storage bag. But Ning Cheng's spirit was aroused. Do you really have a map to get out of the Dawn Forest? The young man obviously did not have the strength to explain anything to Ning Cheng. He just trembled and took out a leather scroll from his clothes and said, "This leather scroll is a map. Inside it there is a Clear Sky 5-Star Academy's Clear Sky Command token. With this you can enter the Clear Sky Academy. This is for you. Please be sure to deliver this package to my fiancée Meng Yujing's hands." There were constantly people coming in and out of the huge city gate, and there were 2 teams of city guards guarding on both sides of the city gate, showing that this place was ruled by someone. On the city wall outside the city gate, there was a very eye-catching notice pasted on it. Ning Cheng glanced at it from afar. It seemed to be about the enrollment of the Clear Heart 3-Star Academy. There were not many people in front of the notice. It was obvious that this notice had been posted for a long time. "Excuse me, how much is this?" Ning Cheng grabbed the pearl hair clip and asked the owner of the stall, while his eyes were also staring at the other pearl hair clip in the hands of the young girl. The reason why Ning Cheng was so excited was because this pair of pearl hair clips was not only the same color as the one he had given to his sister Ruolan, but even the shape was exactly the same. It was in the shape of a snowflake. If he did not consider the material factor, then this pair of pearl hair clips and the pair of pearl hair clips that he had bought back on Earth were completely no different. Not only that, the map was also marked with a large number of reference points. Through this map, Ning Cheng came to know that the place that he was in belonged to the lower-ranked monstrous beasts of the Dawn Forest. In a few places, there were even Class 5 monstrous beasts roaming around. When Ning Cheng opened the leather scroll map, he immediately knew that he could go out. This map, for him, was simply perfect. A very detailed route was marked on it. Moreover, even the territories of the monstrous beasts were marked on the map. The route marked on the map was marked by the monstrous beasts. The highest level was only a Class 2 monstrous beast. This level of monstrous beasts really did not pose any threat to Ning Cheng. In Ning Cheng's mind, he actually did not want to go back to the Ping continent. He wanted to go to the Yuan continent to have a look. After all, the Yuan continent was closer to the Hua continent. Moreover, it was also closer to an intermediate class continent. After another day, Ning Cheng met a team of adventurers at the edge of the Dawn Forest. From these adventurers, Ning Cheng bought a map to the Mingyi country. Outside the Dawn Forest was a rolling mountain range. Ning Cheng did not use his flying sword to fly during the day, but rather concealed his cultivation at the Qi Gathering 4th level. Even if he used his flying sword to fly, it would only be done at night. Ning Cheng was not very interested in entering the academy, mainly because his spiritual roots were constantly changing. He simply did not dare to enter the academy to repeatedly test his spiritual roots. Looking at the map in his hands, although he was in the Dawn Forest, but he was far from the depths of the Dawn Forest. From this place to the Ping continent was not very far. On the contrary, if he wanted to go to the Yuan continent, the journey would be 10 times longer than the journey to the Ping continent. Walking and stopping like this, after half a month, Ning Cheng finally arrived outside of the Nanyuan city. What a beautiful pearl hair clip. A crisp voice attracted Ning Cheng's attention. Ning Cheng turned around and saw a young girl wearing an ordinary coarse cloth dress standing in front of a stall, holding a pearl hair clip in her hand. He could not help but exclaim in amazement. Ning Cheng's qi was limited, after a night of intermittent flight using the flying sword. He was already very tired, so during the day he could restore his qi by traveling. Ning Ruolan's cute face appeared in front of his eyes. Ning Cheng sighed. He knew that he would not have the opportunity to see his little sister in this lifetime. With the map, Ning Cheng was also very familiar with the surroundings. In just 2 days, Ning Cheng was already out of the Dawn Forest. Ning Cheng suddenly felt a bit sad. He did not go to check the leather scroll and the package that the young man had given him. He just picked up the young man, turned around and quickly left the territory of the bristle bears. He only glanced at the notice, and followed the crowd of people into the Nanyuan city. When he passed through the gates, he was not questioned by the city guards. Ning Cheng could feel that most of the people on the streets were ordinary people, although there were a few cultivators, but their cultivations were not very high. He slightly relaxed, presumably with Lan Yinyu's pretentious nature. She would not come to this kind of street and rub shoulders with some ordinary mortals. This was not all of the map. There was also a part of the map that showed the route from the Yuan continent to the Hua continent. The Yuan continent and the Hua continent were separated by an endless desert. This map also had a suggested route, but there was no reference point, as it required a directional array disk. When the young man spoke about the map, a trace of blood overflowed from the corner of his mouth, as he stuttered. The number of people in the Nanyuan city was more than what Ning Cheng had imagined. Almost everywhere was crowded with people. Compared to the Tsangla city, the Nanyuan city was still orderly. At least no one dared to ride a unicorn and run wildly through the streets. When Ning Cheng's eyes fell on the pearl hair clip in her hand, he was suddenly shocked. He immediately stepped forward and took another similar pearl hair clip in his hand. Stop, don't joke with me. I can't even get out of the Dawn Forest. How can I go to the Hua continent? I'm sorry, you should recuperate from your injuries, and go by yourself. Ning Cheng refused without hesitation. He was very clear about where the Hua continent was. Not to mention that he had not even gotten out of the Dawn Forest. Even if he managed to get out of the Dawn Forest, he would not be able to go to the Hua continent. Ning Cheng did not have a directional array disk, but it was not important to him. He did not want to go to the Hua continent. Chapter 49. This girl in the cloth skirt looked very rustic, but Ning Cheng found that she was not the least bit worse than an E. Her pair of eyes were bright and clear. That kind of innocent eyes seemed to be able to see into the bottom of a person's heart, making people not have the heart to refuse. But Ning Cheng was sure that she had never cultivated, as there was not even half a shred of qi fluctuations coming from her body. Ning Cheng did not reply to these words. Asking him to give away the pair of pearl hair clips that he missed so much to his sister, Ruolan, to a stranger, it was something that he was not willing to do. In order for the 5 academies to come out on top in 3 years, they would simultaneously recruit the most outstanding disciples from the Ping continent, the Yuan continent, and the Hua continent. The academies that could participate in the training of outstanding disciples were all 3-star academies and above. My Clear Heart Academy is naturally one of them. As long as you are selected by the Clear Heart Academy, then you will have the opportunity to go to the Hua continent's 5-star academy. Oh, what's going on? Ning Cheng was really curious. For the Clear Heart 3-star academy to be selected, it was certainly a great honor and fortune, but it was not enough to reach the heavens in a single bound. The stall owner was very satisfied with Ning Cheng's attitude. He did not even bother to greet his customers, and carefully explained to Ning Cheng. I heard that the Hua continent has 5 5-star academies. 3 years later there will be a lower-class continent's most important tournament between these 5 5-star academies. Once one of the 5-star academies won the competition, then they would obtain great benefits. Ning Cheng did not bring this youth to the rest stop. Now that the rest stops and restaurants in the Nanyuan city were already overcrowded, even if he went there he would not be able to find a quiet place to sit. Although he looked like a straightforward person, but he was able to see through Ning Cheng's purpose with a glance. Listening to Ning Cheng's words, the young girl's brows slightly wrinkled. It was not because Ning Cheng was not willing to transfer the pearl hair clip to her. She knew that in Nanyuan city, only a person like her would regard a gold coin as such a big deal. Ning Cheng had always been proud that his memory and analytical ability were unparalleled. But today he came to know that he was not the only one with a strong memory. With a simple glance, he was able to sketch out every detail of his facial expression. How much of a genius did he have to be able to do this? Ning Cheng could tell from the tone of the young girl in the cloth robe that she was very fond of this pair of pearl hair clips. But this pair of pearl hair clips was something that he definitely needed, and being able to see the same pair of pearl hair clips in Nanyuan City, the pleasant surprise in his heart was simply unable to be expressed. This was not something that could be represented by simply refining 2 pearl flowers. For Ning Cheng, this was a kind of mysterious heaven's will. What kind of great benefits did the academy receive? Ning Cheng subconsciously asked. Even a 5-star academy would care about such great benefits. He was really curious about it. The stall owner who had just earned 2 gold coins was in a good mood. After listening to Ning Cheng's words, he immediately shook his head like a rattledrum. How is that possible? Although there are a lot of people here, but most of them come here to snatch business from the people of our city. When you go to the spiritual root testing plaza later, there will be stalls from outside. The number of people that the Clear Heart Academy wants has nothing to do with the people who come. It is only related to the cultivation of the spiritual root and the perception. In her opinion, even if this pearl hair clip was exquisite and beautiful, it would at most be worth a few dozen copper coins, or even less than a silver coin. Ning Cheng did not pay attention to the words of the other people. He directly put away the pearl hair clip, but did not leave. Instead he asked the stall owner, "Boss, are there so many people coming to Nanyuan City to participate in the selection for the Clear Heart Academy? Although the Clear Heart Academy is big, but does it need so many people, right?" 1 gold coin. The stall owner was obviously very good at doing business. Seeing Ning Cheng and the young girl in the cloth skirt holding a pearl hair clip, he immediately opened his mouth like an lion. Ning Cheng looked back and saw a very sturdy-looking young man. This young man was not only very sturdy-looking, but he was also wearing coarse clothes. Ning Cheng immediately guessed that this young man should have some relation with the young girl in the cloth skirt who had just left. Ning Cheng cast an apologetic look at the young girl and said, "I am really sorry, this pair of pearl hair clip is of great significance to me. Can I ask you to part with it, and give me the pearl hair clip in your hands? I am willing to give you another pair of pearl hair clips. You can choose whichever you like." After listening to Ning Cheng's words, the young man's eyes flashed with a trace of sadness. Previously, when my younger sister found me, she was somewhat depressed. From childhood till now I have never let her suffer any grievances. After I asked her, I came to know that the pearl hair clip that she had taken a fancy to was bought by someone else. The reason why he chose this young man to ask was because Ning Cheng could see that the opposite party should be a very simple and honest person. Moreover, he also did not cultivate. Asking him was a bit safer than asking someone who had cultivated. Otherwise, as a chi-gathering cultivator coming to Nanyuan City, and not knowing about the matter of the Clear Heart Academy recruiting disciples, it would certainly arouse suspicion. If it was any other place, then he would not care about it. But here he had an enemy, Lan Yinyu. Spiritual root testing plaza? Ning Cheng did not understand and asked. Her tone was gentle and demure, as if giving the pearl hair clip to Ning Cheng was a matter of course. I know, but I still need to ask for the details." Ning Cheng quickly lowered his posture and cupped his fists. He was really prepared to go to the Hua continent. Ning Cheng saw the portrait on the handkerchief and was immediately sluggish. There was actually such a skillful person in the world. This portrait was only a few strokes, but his image was completely outlined on the handkerchief. This simple lifelike picture was comparable to the lifelike picture taken by a digital camera. Even the hand-drawn picture was more lifelike. "I don't know about this," the stall owner said with a rare embarrassment. "I know, but you need to sell me the pearl hair clip that you just bought." A hoarse voice sounded from the side of Ning Cheng. "How did you know that it was me?" Ning Cheng blurted out. There were so many people on the street. Moreover, the young girl wearing the cloth skirt had already left for a long time, because he had a question to ask the stall owner. He was delayed and did not leave. It was reasonable to say that this youth did not see him buy anything, so he should not know that it was him who bought the pearl hair clip. Ning Cheng quickly took out 2 gold coins and handed it to the stall owner, and then thanked the young girl wearing the cloth skirt. Many thanks, you can choose a pair of pearl hair clip, consider it as my gift to you. The young girl wearing the cloth skirt was obviously afraid of causing a bigger dispute. She did not dare to say anything, and quickly turned around and walked into the crowd, and soon disappeared. The young girl wearing the cloth skirt directly refused this time. No need, I like that pair of snowflake-shaped pearl hair clip. I do not want other people to give it to me. I can afford to buy it for 2 gold coins. The stall owner unhurriedly said, My pearl hair clip is unique. There will never be a second pair. Moreover, they are all handmade by the Imperial City's master casting. How can you say that this price is expensive? Besides, I said 1 for 1 gold coin, not 1 for 1 gold coin. When Ning Cheng saw this, he first thanked the stall owner, and then said to the youth, Since this friend wants the pearl hair clip, then let's go to a quiet place to talk. The reason why she frowned was because Ning Cheng said that he would give her a pair of pearl hair clip, which made her feel that this person was too frivolous. For a man to give a pearl hair clip to a woman, it was not a casual gift. The young girl also looked at Ning Cheng. Her eyes were filled with hope. She hoped that Ning Cheng would give up the pearl hair clip to her. She was not a fool, and obviously saw that the stall owner had increased the price, not because the pearl hair clip was really so precious, but because someone was competing with her. And this person was now standing right next to her. The youth did not think much about it, and immediately nodded and said, Okay, you lead the way. No matter what you ask, as long as I know, I will tell you. The condition is that you give me the pearl hair clip. What's more, nowadays the Nanyuan city was filled with outsiders, not to mention 1 gold coin. Even if it was 10 gold coins, as long as someone took a fancy to it, there would be people who would buy it. The stall owner was incomparably proud. It was as if the Clear Heart 3-Star Academy was his personal property. Have you heard of the Hua continent? The Yixing mainland has 9 continents. Among them the Hua continent is one of the 3 lower-leveled continents with the richest spiritual qi. If not for its bad location, it could have been classified as an intermediate-class continent. Boss, then I'll give you 1 gold coin. Can you sell these 2 pearl hair clips to me? The young girl wearing the cloth skirt looked at the pearl hair clip in Ning Cheng's hands, and said while clenching her teeth. She had come to the Nanyuan city to participate in the selection for the Clear Heart Academy. But this pearl hair clip was something that she really liked. Moreover, when she held this pearl hair clip, she had a very tranquil feeling. She felt that this pearl hair clip was made for her. The hands of the young girl wearing the cloth skirt slightly trembled. She could not believe it and repeated the words. This pair of pearl hair clip for 1 gold coin? How is this possible? The young man was a little embarrassed as he took out a handkerchief and said, I said that I would definitely help her get it back. She drew a portrait for me. I recognized that this person was you. There was a person on the side who saw it clearly, and somewhat disdainfully ridiculed him. A man actually competing with a woman for the pearl hair clip. Saying that the stall owner was afraid that Ning Cheng did not understand, and said in an extremely proud tone, Our Mingyi country's Clear Heart 3-Star Academy is recruiting disciples. It is not simple. If you are selected, then you might be able to reach the sky in a single bound. Ning Cheng also knew that the stall owner was asking for an exorbitant price, but now not to mention 1 gold coin. Even if it was 1,000 gold coins, it was not a lot of money for him. Moreover, the use of gold coins for him was getting less and less. What he needed now were spirit stones. Even if it was a chi-gathering stone, it would not be of much use to him. No. The boss spoke out in a categorical tone, while simultaneously looking at Ning Cheng. From childhood till now, she had never spent so much money extravagantly to buy a small hair clip. Ning Cheng brought the young man to a slightly less secluded place, and straightforwardly and politely said, Friend, that pearl hair clip for me has an extremely important meaning. There is no way for me to give it to you. But I really have just arrived in Nanyuan City. There are many things that I do not understand, so I would like to ask for your advice. The stall owner patiently replied, You should not be here to participate in the Clear Heart Academy's selection, right? Generally, those who come to participate in the selection will go to the Spiritual Root Testing Plaza for the first Spiritual Root Test. Only those who pass the first Spiritual Root Test are eligible to enter the Clear Heart Academy to participate in the second Spiritual Root Test. Ning Cheng did not want to give away the pearl hair clip, but he wanted to know more about the situation. This young man did not seem to have any background, but he seemed to know more than the stall owner. Chapter 50. In my heart, my sister is a princess, but she is just like me, living in poverty. A few months ago, my sister heard that the Clear Heart Academy was recruiting students, and wanted to come, but she was not willing to tell me about it. She was afraid that I would be worried. The only thing I can do for her is to sell all the things in the house, and then accompany her to come here to participate in the selection. The young man's tone was filled with a strong sense of love. It seemed that if his sister wanted the stars in the sky, he would find a way. What if your sister fails in the selection? Is there nothing in the house? When Ning Cheng asked this question, he was not thinking about the matter of the young man and his sister participating in the selection. He was thinking about him and Ruolan. Initially, in order to take care of his sister Ruolan, he had left everything in the house and followed his sister to Jiangzhou. Wasn't this young man very similar to him? Hearing Ning Cheng's question, the young man said with certainty, "As long as someone is selected, my sister will definitely be selected. There is no one more outstanding than my sister." Ning Cheng did not refute this young man. A person who loved his sister so much, saying such words would only arouse his sympathy, and would not arouse his disgust. This time my sister will definitely be selected to enter the Clear Heart Academy. I will help her get back this pair of pearl hair clips. It may be the last thing that I can do for her. So, I ask you to promise me. Although I do not have many gold coins, but I will try to give you more gold coins. The young man's tone was filled with pleading. He was obviously not a fool. He knew that once his sister was selected to enter the Clear Heart Academy, then he would no longer have anything to do with her. Ning Cheng did not say anything else. He just took out the pair of pearl hair clips and handed it to the young man and said, "I also love my sister very much. You can give this to your sister. Your sister has a brother like you. It is her happiness." Giving away the pearl hair clips, Ning Cheng sighed in his heart. He suddenly envied this young man. At least his sister could still see him, and was still under the same sky. The young man did not think that Ning Cheng would be so easy to talk to. He did not even have any hope, but Ning Cheng actually gave him the pearl hair clips. After a while he reacted, and quickly went to take out the gold coins. Ning Cheng waved his hand and said, "I do not want your gold coins for me. Gold coins are simply superfluous things. The reason why I gave you this pearl hair clip is because I also have a younger sister, and she also likes this kind of pearl hair clip." This young man was a simple and honest person. He knew that this was stealing someone else's love. Could it be that his little sister was a little sister, but other people's little sister was not a little sister? But he was also reluctant to return the pearl hair clip to Ning Cheng. For a time he unexpectedly became tangled. "Why don't we each take one? You can also give one to your sister." The young man hesitated for a moment before he took out a pearl hair clip and handed it to Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng gave it a push and said, "No need, this pearl hair clip is originally a pair. It is better not to separate it. And I might never see my sister again in this lifetime. If I keep the pearl hair clip, it will only make me sad. Just give it to your sister." This young man was not good with words, and did not know how to comfort Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng showed a faint smile and said, "Let's not talk about the pearl hair clip. You said before that you knew about the tournament between the 5-star academies of the Hua continent. And what do you mean by first place?" When the youth saw that Ning Cheng had taken the initiative to change the topic, he sighed in relief, and quickly put away the pearl hair clip and explained, "I heard that the Yixing mainland's advanced class continents, in order to enhance the strength of the lower class continents, decided to support a 6-star academy in the Hua continent. This 6-star academy would become the only 6-star academy in the 3 lower class continents. But in the Hua continent, there were 5 5-star academies. In this case, which 5-star academy would be promoted to a 6-star academy would become a problem. For the sake of fairness, the people from the Yixing mainland's advanced level continents decided to choose through a competition. The 5 5-star academies will send their most outstanding disciples to participate in the tournament. The academy with the best results will be supported to become a 6-star academy, and the other 4 5-star academies will listen to the deployment of the 6-star academy. The young man who spoke to here was somewhat embarrassed as he scratched his head and said, "This is what my younger sister told me. And it was also what the people from the Clear Heart Academy told my younger sister. In fact, the students that the Clear Heart 3-star Academy recruited would also undergo a selection process. Only the most outstanding and core disciples would have the possibility of being selected to go to the Hua continent. After you arrive at the Hua continent, those 5-star academies will once again screen you again." "I understand, thank you." Ning Cheng nodded. He finally understood what was going on. It seems that the Clear Heart 3-star Academy was not the only 3-star academy that was selecting their disciples. The last time the Falling Star 5-star Academy specially came to select their disciples, perhaps it was because they had done a favor to the Ping continent's top expert Lian Haoyan, and then selected some of the outstanding disciples in advance. This young man seemed to feel that the 2 questions that he had answered were not enough to repay the pearl hair clip that Ning Cheng had given him, and added a sentence. "Big brother, if you are here to participate in the Clear Heart Academy's selection, then you need to go to the Mingpu Plaza on the outskirts of the Clear Heart Academy to test your spiritual roots, and then you will be eligible to enter the academy. My younger sister and I will go to test tomorrow. After half a month, the Clear Heart Academy will officially start to recruit students." Ning Cheng thanked him again, and was ready to leave to find a place to stay. The young man handed the handkerchief in his hand to Ning Cheng and said, "This portrait is yours, I will return it to you." Ning Cheng did not know whether to laugh or cry as he pushed the handkerchief back and said, "I do not need it. I will take my leave now. I wish you 2 brother and sister good luck, and hope that you will be selected to enter the academy." He was a person who had been in love before. Of course he would not be as careless as this young man, and casually take a woman's handkerchief. Until Ning Cheng walked far away, the young man was still muttering to himself in the same place. "This person is really a good person." Ning Cheng was not a good person. He saw his own shadow in this young man, which made him take the initiative to give up the 2 pearl hair clips. At this time Ning Cheng was looking for a place to stay in Nanyuan City. After he found a place to stay, he would go to the Mingpu Plaza to take a look, and see if he could test his spiritual roots. Ning Cheng was very clear. To see an E would definitely not be simple. An E was in the Clear Heart Academy. Without anyone to guide her, he certainly would not be able to enter the Clear Heart Academy. If he wanted to see an E, he could only wait for the Clear Heart Academy to recruit students, and then fish in troubled waters to take a look. The inns in Nanyuan City were already full. Ning Cheng was far away from the Clear Heart Academy, and spent nearly 10 times the price to find a place to stay. After finding a place to stay, Ning Cheng did not stay in a place to stay. This time he came to Nanyuan City. In addition to seeing an E, there were many other things. The most important thing was of course to refine the 7 Pleiades ice needle, and to look for the true condensation pill. Whether it was refining the 7 Pleiades ice needle, or exchanging the golden cicada fruit for the true condensation pill, Ning Cheng did not dare to be careless. Fian Pill Pavilion was one of the 3 largest pill shops in Nanyuan City. But the location was relatively remote. It was located at the edge of the northern part of Nanyuan City. Nanyuan City was now filled with people. Even if the Fian Pill Pavilion was more remote, there were still many cultivators coming and going. Ning Cheng was wearing a cultivator's hat that covered his face, and carrying a black bag on his back. He walked into the Fian Pill Pavilion. In Nanyuan City, it was not uncommon to see people dressed like him. Some people really did not want to be recognized by others, and there were also some people who deliberately pretended to be deep. For Ning Cheng, no matter which one it was, the more of these people the better. At least he would not stand out. "I want a bottle of spiritual qi returning liquid." "Give me a bottle of spiritual qi returning liquid." When Ning Cheng came in, he heard a variety of noisy voices. Most of them were asking to buy a variety of spiritual qi returning liquids. Some were buying pills, and some were bargaining. Compared to the Tsonglu City and the Mingat City, the Nanyuan City was much more standardized. At least there was no such thing as a pill. After listening for a long time, Ning Cheng already had a general idea of the price. A bottle of qi returning spiritual liquid cost 10 qi gathering stones. and could only restore a portion of the qi of an early-stage qi-gathering cultivator. The small spiritual liquid was a kind of spiritual liquid for healing injuries, and its price was 10 qi-gathering stones, but it could only be used to treat some ordinary injuries. As for the spiritual liquid with better effects, the price rose sharply. Ningqing walked towards a shop assistant who had just finished his work and asked, "Excuse me, do you have any high-grade pills for sale here?" Ningqing was very careful. He saw that most of the things sold here were spiritual liquids and pills. He already had some doubts about whether or not he would be able to buy a true condensation pill in the Nanyuan city. "A high-grade pill? What pill do you want? Qi recovery pill? Rejuvenation pill? True restoration pill?" The shop assistant stared at Ningqing and asked. After he finished asking, he then spoke in an extremely arrogant manner. "Our Fian Pill Pavilion is not able to purchase the pills. Even if you go to the other places in the Nanyuan city, you will not be able to purchase them. Of course, if you want to buy a high-grade pill like the True Restoration pill, then you will need to prove your identity, otherwise you will not be able to sell it." The True Restoration pill was only a pill to restore the true essence of an early-stage true condensation cultivator. If this kind of pill required proof of identity, then wouldn't the true condensation pill be even more difficult to buy? Ningqing now understood. In this kind of place like the Nanyuan city, one would not be able to buy pills with spirit stones and spiritual grasses. Fortunately, he did not act rashly. He said in a slightly exaggerated manner, "According to what you said, if I want to buy a true condensation pill and an essence-building pill, then wouldn't I have to bring out my family tree?" When the surrounding cultivators heard what Ningqing said, they couldn't help but laugh. The shop assistant did not care about it and said, "You should be foreign cultivators. As such, many of you do not understand the rules of my Nanyuan city. My Nanyuan city's pills are not easy to come by. Of course we have to sell them. As for the true condensation pill, I will not say anything about it. Even our Fian Pill Pavilion does not sell it. As for the essence-building pill, I am afraid that even in the entire Ping continent, you would not be able to buy it. According to what you said, even if I find a pile of golden cicada fruits, then I will not be able to get the true condensation pill?" Someone in the crowd laughed, and helped Ningqing ask the question that he wanted to ask the most. The shop assistant still spoke in a neither fast nor slow manner. "If you really can get the golden cicada fruits, then you would not have to worry about the matter of the true condensation pill. With our pill pavilion as the middleman, the Clear Heart Academy and the Mingyi country's pill masters will definitely help you refine pills. Of course, the remuneration for the alchemy is also indispensable." Chapter 51. Ningqing walked out of the Fian Pill Pavilion. He did not dare to take out the golden cicada fruit. He had learned from the waiter that even if he had a golden cicada fruit, it would still be very difficult for him to obtain a qi-gathering pill. Taking a step back, even if he could use the golden cicada fruit to exchange for a qi-gathering pill, he would still have to go through the Clear Heart Academy. If Ningqing was not a retard, then why would he do such a thing? If the Flying Swallow Pill Pavilion was like this, then there was no need to go to the other pill pavilions. It would definitely be the same. It seemed that even if he had the golden cicada fruit, it would not be easy to get the qi-gathering pill. Because of his experience with the Fian Pill Pavilion, Ningqing decided to look for a relatively ordinary crafting pavilion. He did not intend to take out his Flood Dragon Horn. He wanted to sell the curved blade magic artifact in his hand, and then exchange it for a needle-shaped magic artifact. Ningqing obviously did not know much about crafting artifacts. As he searched for a full half a day, even when the sky was turning dark, he still could not find a place dedicated to crafting artifacts. At most, there were only a few merchant houses that sold weapons and low-leveled artifacts, although these places could also be used for crafting artifacts, but they were all ordinary artifacts. As for the artifacts that Ningqing had requested, it was absolutely impossible to refine them. This made Ningqing very disappointed. He even thought about his own artifact crafting, but thinking about the qi-gathering pill, he could not help but feel somewhat discouraged. If everyone was like him, with no pills to refine by themselves, no magic treasures to refine by themselves, then cultivation would be too simple. In Nanyuan City, It was not impossible to find a refiner. It was precisely because no matter if it was alchemy or artifact forging, it wasn't something that could be learned easily. It might even take a lifetime to learn. That was why there were so few alchemists and artifact forging masters in Nanyuan City. Even if there were a few alchemists or artifacts craftsmen, they would not stay in a place like the Ping continent. Ning Cheng had already decided to give up on crafting artifacts, and would return to the rest stop to rest for a day, and then go to the Clear Heart Academy to inquire if he could see any. If he could see any earlier, then he would have left Nanyuan City earlier. Friend, please wait. Just as Ning Cheng was about to return to the rest stop, someone suddenly called out to him. Ning Cheng stopped, and turned around to see a short and thin wretched-looking middle-aged man. But his cultivation was not weak, he was already at the Qi Gathering 3rd level. You called me? Ning Cheng asked in a deep voice. He seemed to have seen this guy before, but he could not remember which shop he had met him in. In order to find a place to forge weapons, he went to many shops. My name is Ge Chang. Is this friend looking for someone to customize an artifact? This short, skinny, middle-aged man cupped his fists towards Ning Cheng, and spoke with a trace of an inquiring tone. Although this person's name was completely opposite to his appearance, Ning Cheng did not find it funny. Instead he frowned and spoke in a cold voice. So you are following me? Ge Chang hastily waved his hand and said, Friend, please do not misunderstand. I, Ge Chang, am a reputable person in the Nanyuan City. How could I follow you? Because recently, a lot of cultivators who came to Nanyuan City were unable to find a refining place, and I happen to know a refining grandmaster. I've already helped a lot of people. As long as you're willing, I can take you to that master refiner. Ning Cheng immediately came to understand. It turned out that this person was trying to pull in business from everywhere, and was specifically lurking outside some of the artifact-level pavilions. At the same time, Ning Cheng was also secretly vigilant in his heart. He had been followed by a Qi Gathering 4th-level cultivator for so long, but he did not know about it. The order of the Nanyuan City made Ning Cheng feel relieved. At least he had not seen the situation in the Mingat City and the Tsonglu City. Besides, this person was only at the Qi Gathering 3rd level, and his cultivation level was almost the same. Thinking till here, Ning Cheng nodded and said, Okay, how much do you need as payment? Ning Cheng came from Earth. Of course he knew that there was no such thing as a free lunch in this world. This Ge Chang took the initiative to look for him. He definitely wanted to earn a bit. He absolutely would not do a good deed for no reason. When Ge Chang heard Ning Cheng's words, he immediately gave a thumbs up and said, Friend, you are the most straightforward person I have ever seen. You are very straightforward. You will definitely not suffer a loss. This master can be said to be the most powerful refining master in the entire Nanyuan City. Ning Cheng directly interrupted Ge Chang's words. Say the price and take me there. As for the rest, it is not very important. Ning Cheng did not believe that Ge Chang was the most powerful. If this master refiner was really the most powerful, then there would not be a need for people like Ge Chang to pull in business from everywhere. If there was such a powerful master refiner, then in this Nanyuan City, he would have already purchased the most luxurious refining building. Fortunately, as long as he was able to refine a fine needle that conformed to his idea, as for the quality, he did not care about it. In this Nanyuan City, if he wanted to refine a top-quality artifact, then it would be better to just dream about it. Ge Chang saw that Ning Cheng was not interested in talking to him, and said with some embarrassment, Because this master refiner does not like to be disturbed by others. Moreover, he is a real expert, so the price I want is a bit higher. I need 2 low-grade spirit stones. Ning Cheng sneered. You take me to find a place to refine artifacts and you want 2 low-grade spirit stones. In this 1 year, wouldn't you be one of the richest people in the entire Nanyuan City? If spirit stones were so easy to earn, then why would I still want to go to the Dawn Forest to risk my life? You go and find a customer who has 2 spirit stones. I am a poor person, and do not have any. Finished. Ning Cheng said that. He turned around and walked away. 2 spirit stones in the Nanyuan City was already a huge amount of wealth. Even if Ning Cheng could afford these 2 spirit stones, he would not be a spendthrift. The core disciples of the Clear Heart Academy, Lu Shui and Le Boishong, were only rewarded with 1 spirit stone every month. If they wanted to get extra spirit stones, then they would have to go out and fight for their lives. Wait, why don't you give me 10 chi gathering stones? Gu Chang saw that Ning Cheng simply ignored him, and quickly called out to Ning Cheng, and immediately dropped the price by a few dozen times. Ning Cheng actually had a few dozen chi gathering stones on him. They were some of the spoils of war, but these things were not of much use to him. They contained too many impurities. Moreover, Ning Cheng really wanted to find a master refiner to refine an artifact for him, so this time he did not haggle with Gu Chang. He took out 10 chi gathering stones from his bag and threw them to Gu Chang. Lead the way. Gu Chang received the chi gathering stones and was overjoyed in his heart. He was just asking for a sky-high price. He did not think that Ning Cheng would really give him 10 chi gathering stones. Friend, please come with me. Gu Chang suddenly became extremely enthusiastic. He politely stretched out his hand and then led the way. Ning Cheng followed behind Gu Chang, and at the same time was also carefully watching the surroundings. Gu Chang took 7 or 8 turns, and walked with Ning Cheng for nearly half an hour, passing through dozens of large and small streets, and finally entered a residential area. After arriving here, there were very few people around. Even the entire street could only see 1 or 2 ordinary people. Just as Ning Cheng was getting impatient, Gu Chang entered a small alley, and stopped in front of a low bungalow and said, "This is it. This Grandmaster's temperament is somewhat eccentric. Whether or not he is willing to help you refine artifacts, I do not know. I have already brought you here. You can go in by yourself. I will not go with you." After speaking to Ning Cheng, Gu Chang called out to the bungalow, "Grandmaster Gongsun, I helped you find another business." After saying this sentence, Gu Chang quickly turned around and fled, and in the blink of an eye disappeared from this small alley. Ning Cheng knew that he was deceived. This small alley was simply a place where ordinary mortals lived. How could there be a master refiner? If there really was a master refiner, how could this Gu Chang escape? Fortunately, he only gave him 10 chi gathering stones. Whether it was true or false, Ning Cheng still pushed open the door and walked in. The inside of the house was very dark. Ning Cheng could only vaguely see the things inside the house. The furnishings inside were very simple. There was only a table and 2 chairs. Other than that, there was nothing else. There was a room on the left and right side of the house. The room on the right was closed, but the room on the left was flashing with a glimmer of light. "Is there anyone here?" Ning Cheng called out. For a long time there was no answer. Ning Cheng walked to the door of the room on the left, and pushed it with his hand, but found that the door was unlocked. After entering the room, Ning Cheng saw that there was someone inside the room. Not only was there someone, but it was an old woman with a head full of white hair. This old woman's back was facing him. In front of her there was a stove. Above the stove there was a flame. However, this furnace was not a furnace for refining tools, but an ordinary household furnace. On top of the stove there was a round pot. He did not know what was cooking inside the pot. At this time the old woman did not seem to know that Ning Cheng had entered the room. She raised her hand to open the lid of the pot, and a fragrant aroma assailed his nostrils. Ning Cheng was somewhat speechless as he shook his head. This was simply an ordinary mortal's home, and the people here were cooking. "I'm sorry, Granny. I came to the wrong place." Saying that, Ning Cheng quickly stepped back. But Ning Cheng soon entered the room again. He found that there was something wrong. This room did not even have a window. The old woman was burning the stove inside, but he did not smell even a little bit of smoke. Because he did not smell any smoke, Ning Cheng remembered that this stove did not seem to have anything to burn. This was absolutely not normal. He did not believe that an ordinary person would be able to burn a stove without charcoal. Sure enough, when Ning Cheng entered the room again, he could see it even more clearly. This stove indeed did not have anything to burn, but the flame also had a trace of spirituality. Ning Cheng's senses were extremely powerful. He could tell at a glance that this flame was not ordinary firewood. This junior heard that Senior is an artifact refining grandmaster, and specifically came to ask Senior to help me refine an artifact. I have disturbed Senior's quiet cultivation. I ask Senior to forgive me. After Ning Cheng found that this flame was unusual, he found that he could not see the cultivation of this old woman. He immediately guessed that this old woman should be a hidden cultivator. For this kind of eccentric hidden cultivator, Ning Cheng did not dare to act casually. Chapter 52. Thinking till here, Ning Cheng quickly said, "May I ask Senior if you have any alchemy jade strips? If there is, this junior would like to borrow it." With that, she took out a jade strip and threw it to Ning Cheng. "Let me show you what a real concealment technique is. I can give you the concealment cultivation method jade strip, but you need to answer 2 of my questions." The old woman saw Ning Cheng grab the jade strip. She knew that Ning Cheng was shocked by this concealment technique. She was not surprised that Ning Cheng could look at the jade strip, even though he was only at the chi-gathering realm. Seeing the flood dragon horn in Ning Cheng's hand, the old woman was surprised. She raised her hand and snatched the flood dragon horn. Her speed was incomparably fast. The old woman's mouth showed a trace of a smile for the first time. Ning Cheng could see that although the old woman was not laughing at him, but the meaning behind it was not much different from ridiculing him. Ning Cheng, with his fastest speed, swept through the concealment technique once again. Magic techniques and cultivation methods were different. They were not as complex and lengthy as cultivation methods. Ning Cheng's memory was amazing. Just by casually sweeping through it once, he was almost able to remember everything. You want to refine the 7 Pleiades ice needle? You are just a chi-gathering cultivator, yet you have this kind of profound grade magic technique? It seems that the secret on your body is not small. The old woman looked at Ning Cheng meaningfully and said. Fortunately, the old woman did not continue to ask, and just slowly said, "I took something from Guchang, but I helped him refine a low-level artifact, so he thought that I was a refining master. In fact, I am not a refining master." Ning Cheng froze for a moment. This was obvious. If you helped me refine a needle, would I have to sell my life for you? Ning Cheng did not hesitate, and directly took out the flood dragon skin and piled it up in the room and said, "I did not find the flood dragon core." Fortunately, Ning Cheng's reaction was extremely fast. He immediately put away the wolf demon fangs, and quickly took out a horn and said, "Because I wanted to refine a needle, so I thought that the wolf demon fangs would be better. Since Senior does not like it, I also have a horn here." Ning Cheng quickly returned the jade strip to the old woman. This junior does not dare to covet Senior's cultivation method jade strip. If Senior has any questions, please feel free to ask. This junior will not hide anything from you. What appeared in front of Ning Cheng's eyes was a somewhat pale face with a few wrinkles. Ning Cheng scratched his head in embarrassment and spoke. "That's right, if I can refine pills by myself, wouldn't it save me a lot of trouble in the future?" Ning Cheng, who was standing on the side, stared at this old woman with a slightly nervous expression. He estimated that if they were to fight, then he was afraid that he would not be a match for this old woman. If this old woman wanted to embezzle his flood dragon horn, he really couldn't do anything about it. The old woman nodded. It was obvious that she was very satisfied with Ning Cheng's attitude, and then spoke. "Although I am not a crafting master, but I am a pill master. If you have any pills that you need to refine, then you can come to me. At least for a year, I will not leave Nanyuan City." Not waiting for Ning Cheng to finish his words, the old woman's face sank. "You want me to craft an artifact with this kind of garbage material? Are you insulting me because I'm not an armament refiner? Get out." The horn of a level 4 one-horned flood dragon? You are just a trivial chi-gathering 8th level cultivator. Where did you get this kind of good thing? The old woman finished speaking, and stared at Ning Cheng. The old woman sneered. "You dare to hide your cultivation in front of me with your lousy concealment technique? Bah. I am not a crafting master." The white-haired old woman slowly turned around, although her tone was old, but it was neither fast nor slow. Ning Cheng was not a fool. He already knew about this cultivation method jade piece. If he let this old woman give it to him, then wouldn't he owe her a favor in vain? Even if she wanted something, she would want something that he had not seen before. Ning Cheng was surprised for a moment. He did not think that this old woman would suddenly turn hostile. The sharp teeth of a Class 2 demon wolf were garbage? This was something that he was not willing to casually take out to sell in the artifact house. How could it be called garbage in the mouth of this old woman? "First tell me what you want to refine, and then take out the materials before we talk." The old woman did not directly ask Ning Cheng for the reward, Apparently she wanted to see what Ningcheng wanted to refine, and then talk about the price. Ningcheng took out 2 Class 2 demon wolf sharp teeth and said, I want to refine a. You want to learn alchemy? The old woman immediately understood Ningcheng's idea, and asked with some disbelief. The old woman put away the jade piece with some appreciation and asked, That being the case, I will not ask you any questions. This one-horned flood dragon has just advanced to Class 4. You are just a trivial chi-gathering realm cultivator, and yet you are able to obtain this thing. It really is not simple. In addition, do you have the flood dragon skin and the flood dragon core with you? Ningcheng in his heart despised her. If you were not a refining master, how could you help Guchong refine an artifact? He did not dare to refute this old woman and continued, Senior can refine an artifact. For this junior you are already a refining master. This junior's request is very simple. As long as senior can help me refine an ordinary artifact. With his current cultivation level, there was no way for him to use the mysterious yellow bead's origin and reach the non-phase realm. Ningcheng decisively said, This junior came to ask senior to refine an artifact. If I also ask for a cultivation method jade piece, then it would be insatiable greed. Please ask senior. The old woman's eyes showed a hint of surprise. She did not continue to look at the flood dragon skin, and did not even ask about the flood dragon core, but directly asked, What do you want to refine? Seeing Ningcheng's somewhat worried look, the old woman showed a faint smile and said, Although a profound grade magic technique is good, but I do not care about it. But if you want to use the one-horned flood dragon's horn to refine the 7 Pleiades ice needle, even if you successfully refine it, the result would be barely satisfactory. This one-horned flood dragon's material is of great use to me. I have a level 4 shadowless bee's stinger, which is suitable for refining a needle-shaped artifact. Why don't I refine the shadowless bee's stinger into a 7 Pleiades ice needle, and then exchange it for your one-horned flood dragon's material? The old woman did not know that Ningcheng had such a powerful memory, and also had the ability to correct a cultivation method, so she asked with some doubts, You really don't want it? The old woman nodded and continued, Second, if you take out something that is not to my liking, then I will not help you refine an artifact. Although I am not a refining master, but I will not refine a rotten thing. Third, you have to give me a satisfactory reward, otherwise I will not help you refine an artifact. Other people would not remember some of the details, and in the process of cultivation there may be mistakes, but Ningcheng was different. He could correct his own cultivation method. Naturally, may I ask what kind of reward does senior want? Ningcheng said with confidence, as long as the other party wanted a reward, then it would be easy. He still had several hundred spirit stones, so giving a reward for refining an artifact was definitely not a problem. When Ningcheng heard this, he knew that he would definitely suffer a loss, but he did not even think about it and said, But according to senior's instructions, this junior only needs a 7 Pleiades ice needle. When Ningcheng heard this, he was ecstatic in his heart. He did not think that this old woman was also a pill master. When he first heard the news, he almost asked the old woman to refine a true condensation pill for him. But in the end Ningcheng still held back his thoughts. He felt that even if he wanted to ask the old woman to refine a true condensation pill for him, he could not do it now. At least he would have to wait until he obtained the 7 Pleiades ice needle. Ningcheng knew that the opportunity was right in front of him, and no longer exposed his own tail, and eagerly said, This junior is confident that he can definitely become a pill master. This junior does not need senior's guidance, as long as senior can give this junior an introductory pill refining jade strip. Just like a piece of black iron, even if it was repeatedly forged, there was no way to turn it into a piece of gold. Perhaps one day he would be able to reach the level of the mysterious yellow formless. At that time he would be able to casually use the mysterious yellow bead to modify a cultivation method into a top-grade cultivation method. But that was certainly not now. Of course, I can help you with alchemy, but you need to prepare your own spiritual grasses. I am just an old woman. I do not go out. I do not have any spiritual grasses for you. After getting the flood dragon horn and the flood dragon skin from Ningcheng, the old woman's attitude changed greatly. Ning Cheng's heart sank. He did not even bother to answer about the flood dragon horn, as he stood up in shock and said, "Senior, can you see my actual cultivation level? This junior understands. This junior is only passing through the Nanyuan city. I will absolutely not spread senior's name everywhere, and will not disturb senior's meditation," Ning Cheng quickly guaranteed. Ning Cheng subconsciously shivered. This old woman was very powerful. She even knew about the 7 Pleiades ice needle. If she knew that he had the mysterious yellow bead, then wouldn't he be courting death? The meaning of doing your best is that if you really can't do it, then don't do it, right? The old woman's tone was still slow. Since ancient times, the number of cultivators who want to practice alchemy is 8 or 9 out of 10, but to become a pill master, it is very rare. Alchemy, in addition to talent and perseverance, also needs opportunities. Even if you have a pure spiritual root, even if you have amazing perseverance, without opportunities, you will not be able to become a pill master. As the old woman spoke, her tone was somewhat lonely, as if she was sighing for herself. The old woman seemed to be embarrassed to refuse Ning Cheng, as she sighed and said, "Since you can find this place, and want me to help you refine an artifact, that is also fine. But I have 3 conditions. The first one is that you cannot be like Guchang, and go around announcing that I am a refining master." Ning Cheng grabbed the jade strip, and swept it with his spiritual sense, and immediately started to sweat. After he looked at the jade strip, he realized that his previous concealment technique was garbage. That concealment cultivation method was something that he had corrected. If he had not corrected it, then it would simply be a tragic sight. But even if he corrected it to perfection, his concealment cultivation method was still congenitally deficient. I want to refine a fine needle artifact with a concealment effect. The thinner the better. At the same time, this fine needle must have an ice attribute attack method. You can. Ning Cheng was no longer polite. He guessed that this old woman should not be a simple person, and simply spoke out all the characteristics of the 7 Pleiades ice needle. Ning Cheng did not dare to stare at the old woman carefully, and quickly cupped his fists and respectfully said, "This junior came to know from Guchang that senior is a refining grandmaster. After this junior saw senior's furnace flame, this junior was convinced that Guchang did not lie to me. I would like to ask senior to help me, as long as this junior's artifact is successfully refined. If senior has any instructions, this junior will definitely do his best." Ning Cheng knew that although he had the golden cicada fruit, but in order to refine a true condensation pill, he would need at least 10 or 20 kinds of spiritual grasses. In a short period of time, he simply would not be able to gather these spiritual grasses. From this it could be seen that looking for this old woman to refine pills was not realistic. Chapter 53. The old woman recovered, stared at Ning Cheng and shook her head and said, "I do have the Alchemy Foundation jade piece, but I will not give it to you. I am not reluctant, but this is for your own good. Although you are dressed like an old person, but presumably you are not more than 20 years old, right? Less than 20 years old and able to cultivate to the Qi gathering 8th level. Although you are not a genius, but in a place like the Ping continent, it is not easy. With your progress, in the future when you leave the Ping continent, coupled with your own efforts and some opportunities, it is not impossible for you to reach the profound core realm. If you have other distractions in your heart, and study the Tao of pills, I am afraid that in this lifetime you will only be able to reach the true condensation realm. The Tao of pills is not something that you can learn if you want to learn it. It is better to listen to my words." Ning Cheng thought of his mysterious yellow bead, and spoke with some unwillingness in his heart. "Senior, I am confident that I will not delay my cultivation." The old woman smiled indifferently. Any cultivator who wants to learn alchemy has this confidence. The Tao of pills and the Tao of tools are, in the end, minor Taos, and are also for the sake of cultivation. If not for advancing to a higher level, no one would be willing to learn alchemy. But everyone is blinded by these minor Taos. Since in the end it is for the sake of cultivation, why not put all your energy into cultivation? If one day, you look down on all the mountains, would there still be a pill master who would not dare to refine pills for you? Would there still be a weapon refiner who would not dare to refine weapons for you? When Ningcheng heard this, his heart suddenly became fiery. It was the first time that he heard someone say that the Tao of pills was a minor Tao, and the Tao of tools was also a minor Tao. But he felt that the old woman was not wrong. If one day, he looked down on all the mountains, would there still be a pill master who would not dare to refine pills for him? But without pills, how could he look down on all the mountains? The fiery mood that had just been ignited, once again cooled down. The old woman seemed to know Ningcheng's thoughts, and once again spoke in a neither fast nor slow manner. In this world, the truly powerful pills are not refined by humans, but rather they are naturally grown. If one day, you can find these naturally grown spiritual objects, then they would be countless times more powerful than any pills. If one day, you can find these naturally grown spiritual objects, then they would be countless times more powerful than any other pills. Pills are just an auxiliary means for cultivation. It is not the end. What senior means is that as long as you cultivate, there is no need for alchemy. The old woman shook her head once again and said, "No, it's just that you are not suitable for alchemy. You're just a rogue cultivator. So what if your aptitude is heaven-defying? The prerequisites for alchemy were a large number of spirit herbs for you to practice with. Secondly, you had to have an alchemy fire and an extremely good opportunity. You don't have any of them. If you just want to advance to the true condensation realm in alchemy, then you are going in the wrong direction. If you want to refine pills, you can come to me when you feel that your cultivation can no longer improve. However, I believe that at that time, you would no longer be in the mood to refine pills." Ningcheng sighed. He knew that the old woman was not wrong. He was only relying on the mysterious yellow bead, but the mysterious yellow bead could not produce innumerable spiritual grasses out of thin air. From the looks of it, even if he wanted to refine pills, he wouldn't be able to do it through this old woman. "You can come back in 10 days to get the 7 Pleiades ice needle. I will definitely be able to refine it for you." The old woman saw Ningcheng bowing his head in contemplation, and did not care about what Ningcheng was thinking, and directly issued an expulsion order. Yes, this junior will take his leave. After Ningcheng walked out of the old woman's bungalow, he had already put aside the matter of alchemy in his heart. In any case, even if he wanted to learn alchemy now, he would not be able to refine the true condensation pill in time. If he wanted to advance to the true condensation realm, then he would have to think of a way. There were so many cultivators in the true condensation realm, but not every one of them was an alchemist. Ningcheng did not go to the Mingpu Plaza to test his spiritual roots. He wanted to wait until he obtained the 7 Pleiades ice needle. Moreover, after the encounter with the old woman, Ningcheng did not have even half a shred of confidence in concealing his cultivation. He simply stayed in the rest stop and practiced his own concealment cultivation technique. 10 days passed by in a flash. In these 10 days, Ningcheng not only revised the concealment technique that he had obtained from the old woman, but also completely learned a new concealment technique. On the 10th day, Ningcheng could not wait to rush to the bungalow in the alley. But he found that the bungalow's door was locked. Ningcheng was startled in his heart. Could it be that this old woman who looked like a senior would cheat him of his materials? This was absolutely impossible, right? "Excuse me. Are you looking for Auntie Gong's son to get something?" A hesitant voice sounded from the opposite door of the bungalow. Ningcheng turned around and saw an ugly-looking youth with thin lips. "Yes, I am looking for Auntie Gong's son. May I ask where Auntie Gong's son went?" Ningcheng quickly replied. At the same time, he felt that the name of this Auntie Gong's son was very familiar. When he was on Earth, he had heard of this name, but he also knew that this was definitely not the same person. When this ugly-looking youth heard Ningcheng's words, he immediately grinned, and then went into the house and took out a small wooden box and handed it to Ningcheng and said, "When Auntie Gong's son left, she gave this to me. She said that the things that you want are inside. She hopes that you will act according to your capabilities." Ningcheng took the jade box and thanked him, but in his heart he did not understand. He had only asked Auntie Gong's son to create a 7 Pleiades ice needle. Why would he act according to his capabilities? Although he was eager to know what his 7 Pleiades ice needle looked like, Ningcheng still held back his excitement, and took the wooden box and rushed back to his residence. After returning to his residence, Ningqing first arranged a shielding array formation, and then carefully opened the wooden box. Inside the wooden box, there was a small crystal box, and next to the crystal box was a small ball of something. Ningqing did not care about the small ball of something next to it, and directly opened the crystal box in his hands. A thin needle that was almost invisible to the naked eye was lying inside the crystal box. Moreover, it was faintly discernible, as if it would disappear at any time. Good needle! Ningqing exclaimed. He immediately understood. This was definitely a 7 Pleiades ice needle artifact that was beyond his expectations. Ningqing held the needle in his hands, and a feeling of wanting to refine it welled up in his heart. Ningqing did not hesitate, and immediately closed his eyes, and began to refine the needle in his hands. A day later, Ningqing once again opened his eyes in surprise. The needle in his hands had disappeared. The needle was now stuck in his sleeves, and was completely connected to his mind. At this moment Ningqing absolutely did not believe that this old woman was not a refining master. The level of this needle was much higher than his flying sword. This was simply a best quality artifact. A person who could refine a best quality artifact, how could she not be a refining master? Ningqing was so happy that he even forgot that there was a small ball of something inside the wooden box, and was constantly practicing the 7 Pleiades ice needle technique with the needle in his hands. It was not until he was very hungry that he discovered that a day had passed by. Ningqing was pleasantly surprised in his heart with this needle. Once he faced an enemy, he could use the 36 profound ice swords and this 7 Pleiades ice needle technique, even if it was a true condensation cultivator. Under the circumstances of his sneak attack, he estimated that it would be very difficult for them to escape. Today he finally had some ability to protect himself. Ningqing was even more grateful to the old woman. Even if it was Gufei, Ningqing felt that he was worth more than the 10 Qi gathering stones. Even if it was 2 spirit stones, it would still be too little. Ningqing put away the 7 Pleiades ice needle technique, and was ready to go out to eat something, when he remembered that there was another item inside the wooden box. He quickly picked up the small ball of something and shook it a bit, and found that it was a very thin inner armor. Ningqing was the first to recognize it. It was a defensive armor made from the skin of the one-horned flood dragon. At the same time, he also understood what was going on. The old woman must have felt that there was a lot of dragon skin, so she simply helped him refine an inner armor. Ningqing took off his outer robe, and after refining the inner armor and putting it on, he felt incomparably comfortable. His heart was filled with gratitude towards the old woman. Ningqing did not throw away the empty wooden box. In his view, it was tantamount to owing the old woman a favor. Originally, the other party didn't have to give him the inner armor, but he did. At the same time, Ningqing also felt that when the old woman said that he should not learn alchemy at this time, it was not without reason. The Mingpu Plaza was located on the periphery of the Clear Heart Academy, and belonged to the Clear Heart Academy and the Mingyi country. Not only was there a huge public square here, but it was also the best testing ground for spiritual roots in the entire Mingyi country. Normally, coming to the Mingpu Plaza to test one's spiritual root would cost a lot of gold coins, but for the past few months, it didn't even cost a single gold coin. All the people could take the test for free, because in these few months the Clear Heart Academy would be recruiting students. In the past few days, the number of people in the Mingpu Plaza had been increasing, and today it was even more crowded. Almost all the cultivators, as well as many people from the Nanyuan city, had already arrived here. Because today was the day that the Clear Heart Academy would be recruiting students. As long as one's spiritual root met the requirements, and passed the test, then one could enter the Clear Heart Academy. Ningqing followed the crowd of people into the Mingpu Plaza's spiritual root testing hall. Today he had already removed the cultivator's hat that covered his face. But under his deliberate dressing, he looked even older, and even his beard looked like it had experienced the vicissitudes of life. Because today was the day that the Clear Heart Academy was selecting students, so there were not many people in the spiritual root testing hall. Most of the people had already tested for their spiritual roots. Ningqing had already seen the spiritual root testing artifact. He directly went to the front of the spiritual root testing artifact and said to the person in charge of the testing, "I want to test for my spiritual root. Put your hand on the groove and circulate some qi." The person in charge of the spiritual root testing artifact weakly said. Ningqing did not speak much and directly put his hand on the test groove and simultaneously circulated some qi into it. 4 thin yellow lines rose from the crystal pillar. The 4 lines rose very slowly, but they did not stop. Ningqing had already taken his hand away when the 4 thin lines had risen to 3 or 4 feet. The person in charge of testing the spiritual roots simply did not care about Ningqing's petty actions, as he lazily threw out a wooden card and spoke, "For line hybrid support spiritual roots, you are qualified to enter. Many thanks. May I ask what are the 4 spiritual roots that I possess?" Ningqing's heart was pounding, as he quickly grabbed the jade card and thanked him before asking. Only he knew in his heart that he originally had a 3-elemental hybrid support spiritual root, but after half a year, he actually had a 4-elemental hybrid support spiritual root. This spiritual root tester swept a disdainful glance at Ningqing and spoke, "If you are qualified, then you do not need to ask about these things. I'm only responsible for testing whether you have the qualifications to enter or not. You're just barely qualified to enter the academy's gates." What he meant was, your spirit root is so trashy, and you still have the face to ask what kind of spirit root it is. Chapter 54. This red-robed girl did not seem to think that she would be secretly loved by a handsome man. Although she did not know Ningqing, but hearing Ningqing's words made her feel a sense of satisfaction. The most important thing was that this handsome man was from the medicinal liquid division. Ningqing was happy in his heart. He was thinking about which direction he should go to find an E, when suddenly a faintly discernible gaze swept over him. This gaze contained a trace of cold killing intent, which almost made Ningqing's body stiffen. After the noise from below subsided a little, Lan Yinyu once again said, "Because the 5-star academies are very strict in recruiting disciples, not only do they need to have excellent spiritual roots, but they also need to have formidable strength. Although the people who come here are the most outstanding people from my Ping continent, but only 50 of them can go to the Hua continent. The people who can really be selected by the 5-star academies are less than 10. As Lan Yinyu finished speaking, immediately nearly 3,000 people entered the first colored line. Ningqing finally understood what the use of the colored line was. It was originally used to select the students. The reason why Ji Luofei's aunt was able to find him and Ji Luofei was not because of luck, but because his aunt was an essence-building cultivator and could release her spiritual consciousness to a very long distance. Just when Ningqing was extremely anxious, a girl wearing a pink robe came from afar. Her cultivation was at the Qi Gathering 6th level. Ningqing did not even think for half a moment, and greeted her with a face full of surprise. "Senior apprentice sister, I really did not expect to find you here. My name is Su Zhu. Are you really from the medicinal liquid division?" The red-robed girl's blush faded a little, but her eyes still had a hint of spring in them. But the tone of her voice had a hint of surprise in it, letting people know that the medicinal liquid division was very popular. Lan Yinyu did not forget to comfort the majority of the students who came to the Clear Heart Academy. Some of these students had already been away for nearly half a year. If they did not even have the opportunity to be selected, they would certainly be very unhappy. Ningqing finally understood that there was an array formation at the entrance of the academy. He picked up the wooden card in his hand and looked at it. It really was the simplest array formation flag. His simple array formation flag was engraved with 4 thin lines. Presumably it meant that he had 4 support spiritual roots. "Do you really have a good relationship with senior apprentice brother Wen Guang?" At this time Su Zhu's expression was not as simple as being surprised, but was even a bit flattered. Such a character like Ningqing unexpectedly had a crush on her. Of the 3,000 students in the first colored line, only 100 or so students walked into the second colored line. Ningqing gave out a sigh. Although he did not have a main spiritual root, his 4 support spiritual roots had already exceeded 4 feet. There were more and more people in the Mingpu Plaza, as more and more people had entered the Clear Heart Academy. Ning Cheng followed the crowd to the entrance of the Clear Heart Academy, but found that these people were only holding the wooden card in their hands, and no one was checking it. He was just thinking that entering the Clear Heart Academy did not require a wooden card, when he saw several people directly flying out of the entrance. 46. Stop dreaming. In the Clear Heart Academy, in addition to these disciples with pure spiritual roots, there were also 10 core disciples. In addition to the 10 core disciples, there were also some disciples with very high qualifications. It's already not bad for us to have 30 participants. In just a twinkling of an eye, Ning Cheng understood what was going on, while simultaneously cursing himself for being stupid. This was not a gaze, but a divine sense. This was the Clear Heart 3-Star Academy. Obviously there were essence-building cultivators here. Essence-building cultivators could release their divine sense outwards, but he was alone and did not go to the Academy's plaza, but instead appeared in this place. This was already suspicious. With so many people crowded in the huge plaza, Ning Cheng did not need to hide himself, and absolutely no one would notice him. After waiting for more than half an hour, the people on the rostrum came up one after another. Ning Cheng soon saw Lan Yinyu. Lan Yinyu was walking in the middle, indicating that her status in the Clear Heart Academy could only be regarded as medium. A variety of discussions arose. No one thought that with so many people competing for the 50 spots, even if there were not a few people with pure spiritual roots, would it even be their turn? Ning Cheng quickly said, "Senior apprentice sister, I am Ning Xiaocheng from the Medicinal Liquid Division. The last time I saw you from afar, it was hard for me to forget. This time our Clear Heart Academy wants to bring the students with excellent qualifications to the Hua continent, but I did not see Senior Apprentice Sister in the plaza. So I was afraid that Senior Apprentice Sister would go to the Hua continent, and later I would not even have the opportunity to speak, so I thickened my face to look for Senior Apprentice Sister." At the same time Ning Cheng also noticed that in front of the rostrum in the Clear Heart Academy's plaza, there were 3 open spaces. These 3 open spaces were divided according to 3 different colored lines. All the people who came to the plaza stood outside of these 3 colored lines. No one dared to stand inside the colored lines in front of the rostrum. This person who was testing the spiritual roots obviously did not stop there, and was still chattering behind Ning Cheng's back. "You think you are the Yu clan's brother and sister, bah?" The Clear Heart Academy did not seem to be bigger than the Tsongqing Academy. After Ning Cheng entered the academy, he immediately felt the difference between this place and the Tsongqing Academy. The spiritual qi here was a lot denser than the Tsongqing Academy. It seems that there should be a spiritual gathering array formation around the periphery of the Clear Heart Academy. The spiritual qi around the Nanyuan city was also absorbed by the Clear Heart Academy. With that, Su Zhu unexpectedly took the initiative to hold Ning Cheng's hand. Ning Cheng carefully squeezed out of the crowd and slowly left the plaza. Everyone calmed down. This time, in addition to choosing 50 people to go to the Hua continent, our Clear Heart Academy also needs to recruit students. This time we want to recruit 1,000 students, so everyone has a chance. Ning Cheng did not think that there would be such a proactive girl. This was too easy to seduce. Fortunately, to his relief, the faintly discernible spiritual consciousness behind him finally disappeared. The plaza once again became incomparably quiet. All the people were thinking in their hearts. Even if they did not have the opportunity to go to the 5-star academies of the Hua continent, staying in the Clear Heart 3-star academy would also be good. After all the people sat down, the one who stood up and spoke was unexpectedly Lan Yinyu. Lan Yinyu walked to the front of the rostrum, and swept her eyes over the densely packed people in the plaza, and said in a crisp voice, "I believe that the most outstanding people in the entire Ping continent have gathered here at this time. I think a lot of people already know that this time my Clear Heart Academy is not recruiting students individually. That's right, this time our Clear Heart Academy is recruiting students for the 5-star academies of the Hua continent. In the entire Ping continent, there are 2 geniuses like Yu Yuan Hua and Yu Ying. Isn't it already heaven-defying? How could there be a third one? Your example is not appropriate." Someone from the side immediately retorted. Ning Cheng's face did not turn red and his heart did not jump as he said those words. Only then did he discover that the girl in front of him was unexpectedly not ugly. Not only was she not ugly, her face was even rosy, and even her eyes had a trace of spring in them. Ningcheng was not in the mood to listen to this person's nonsense, and quickly walked out of the spiritual root testing hall. Most of the people from the Clear Heart Academy had already gone to the Academy's plaza. Ningcheng was already far away from the Academy's plaza, but unexpectedly did not meet a single person. Actually, I still do not know what his senior apprentice sister's name. When Ningcheng said those words, he could feel that the spiritual consciousness behind him was still circling around his body. In the Clear Heart Academy, Ningcheng only knew about the medicinal liquid division. Otherwise, he would definitely not have said that he was from the medicinal liquid division. Now that Suzhu asked, he hurriedly affirmed and said, "Of course, my relationship with senior apprentice brother Yin Wenguang is very good. Moreover, I have received a lot of pointers from senior apprentice brother Yin Wenguang." Everyone knew that this was the reality. If the Hua Continent's 5-star academies were so easy to enter, then they would not be called as 5-star academies. Ningcheng did not pay any attention to this spiritual root testing fellow. Arguing with this kind of person was simply a waste of his saliva. But everyone should not be discouraged. My Ping continent has many outstanding people. It is not that there are no top-level outstanding disciples. In the Ping continent, there are several 3-star academies, but I am sure that none of them are as strong as our Clear Heart Academy, because we have already found 4 disciples with pure spiritual roots, which also includes 2 disciples with main spiritual roots. Even if it is the Hua Continent's 5-star academies, they would not dare to say that they have 2 disciples with main spiritual roots. I invite those with main spiritual roots, and those with no more than 3 support spiritual roots to walk into the first colored line. Lan Yinyu's words once again caused a sensation. There were all kinds of emotions: envy, jealousy. Walking in the front was a man wearing a gray robe with a square face. His appearance was rough and wild, and looked very reckless. Ningcheng knew that this was definitely only on the surface. This person walking in the front, maybe he was the dean of the Clear Heart Academy. At his side was a very elegant middle-aged man. In Ningcheng's view, these 2 people's cultivations were far beyond Lan Yinyu's. After the rostrum was filled with people, Ningcheng frowned. He did not see any. Despite this, Ningcheng was not anxious. Because he did not see the rest of the students, he also did not see the last student with the gold spiritual root. This kind of student selection event was often seen in any academy, but the scale of the Clear Heart Academy this time was relatively large. Ningcheng had already participated in this event before, and had already squeezed himself into a corner. He just wanted to see if An Yi was alright. In this kind of occasion, with An Yi's spiritual root, she was certainly qualified to appear. Ningcheng was not interested in watching the selection. He knew that this selection was still a process. At this time, most of the people in the Clear Heart Academy were watching the selection of disciples. It was time for him to look for An Yi. Even if a lot of the people who came here already knew that this person was from the Hua Continent's 5-star academy, now that they heard Lan Yinyu once again confirm it, everyone was still very enthusiastic. It seemed that they would soon be selected to go to the Hua Continent. You do not have a wooden plaque and you dare to enter the Clear Heart Academy, get lost. One of the guards at the entrance of the academy sneered and scolded. This girl apparently did not think that someone would suddenly stop her. She looked at Ningcheng, who she did not know, and was somewhat stunned. Ningcheng guessed that this was another rule that he did not know, but fortunately he was the same as many people, and did not come here to participate in the selection. Standing together with the majority of the people, there would not be a problem. Ningcheng was secretly feeling lucky in his heart. If he had not obtained the help of the mysterious yellow bead, then there would be no way for him to know that someone was using their spiritual consciousness to scan him. So to say, when the Clear Heart Academy is selecting disciples, wouldn't it be enough to select 46 people? Those who did not enter the first colored line do not have to worry. There will be a supplementary selection. Now I would like to invite those with a yellow main spiritual root, and those who have reached 5 feet, to enter the second colored line. Ningcheng immediately said, "Yes, my qualifications are very ordinary. I was afraid that you would leave the Clear Heart Academy, so I hurriedly came to find you. It really is fate. I did not expect to see you here." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.